Hello guys, welcome to Proxima What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Deku met SCP-173 God form? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. First blink. The first neck goes with a sound like chalk snapping. Not loud, just wrong. Annex sublevel, Aizawa says into our earpieces, already sprinting. Paracausal overflow. Move. I don't wait for the elevator. I vault the rail and slide the last 10 stairs. Knees burning. Bakugo's footsteps thundered behind me, Todoroki cool and even at my flank, Uraraka a gust at my shoulder. The corridor bends left, then right, like the architects wanted to hide a secret and did a terrible job of it. Lights strobe in sickly white. Sirens can't decide on a note. A PCB guard stumbles toward us with pupils blown wide. He's blinking too fast. Don't look away, he pants, stabbing a shaking finger down the hall. Don't. Crunch. Another chalk break. His eyes glass over. Bakugo swears under his breath. Whatever that thing is, I'm punching it. You punch it wrong and we get more bodies, I say, already dropping a green paint pellet in my palm. Follow my marks. No hero speeches. We hit the annex open space. Low ceiling, matte floors. A steel lift cage in the center with one side bent like a grin. Cameras dot the corners. Most are off. One ticks red like a heartbeat. And it's there. Squat. Concrete. Smooth head. Little arms. Dried paint streaks like old tears. You've seen pictures of statues 1,000 times and they never look at you. This one doesn't have eyes and still manages it. A PCB tech is halfway through the cage door with a clipboard. Head turned to shout at someone. He never finishes. When he blinks, the statue is at his shoulder and the clipboard is on the ground. The body falls 2 beats later. I throw the paint pellet at the floor between me and it. The splat is loud enough to earn me a flinch, from Bakugo, not the statue. Good. I wanted that flinch. That tells me how tight everyone's nerves are. Then I do the dumbest, smartest move I've got. I point at the thing like I'm scolding a puppy. Eyes, I say. Now. Uraraka pins her gaze to its torso like gravity. Bakugo takes the right shoulder, Todoroki the left. I step straight into the paint smear and pull out my phone. Deku. Aizawa warns from the doorway as he catches up. Trust me, I say, thumbing open the strobe app. Not constant. That would turn us all into headaches. I set it to a tight rhythm. 1 2 3 blink, 1 2 3 blink, a drummer's click track for eyelids. The statue doesn't move while we look. That's the rule. Everybody says it. Nobody trusts it. I trust the rule and that's why I'm scared of everything except losing the beat. Cadence. Todoroki asks, reading the metronome in my shoulders. Rotate left, I say. I'll call the count. Blink on 2 if you're left of me, on 3 if you're right. Uraraka, your anchor. Don't blink unless I tell you. I can keep my eyes open, she says, fists tight, voice tight. Jaw looser than the fists because she knows better than to clench everything. That's why I love her in fights. She can be a rock without turning into stone. Don't be a hero, I say. Be a metronome. Bakugo snorts. I'm the bomb, nerd. You're both, I say, and flash the strobe twice. 1, 2, 3. We blink in sequence. The room flickers in neat slices, and in those slices, the statue does nothing. Its little arms stay in their awkward half-raise. The lift cage door creaks, knocked off its bent track by, what? It. The thought wants to become words. I don't let it. Word. S are stories and stories are attention and attention is ammo. Keep it practical. Mirrors. Aizawa says without looking away. On it. I toss Todoroki 2 compact mirrors from my belt, the cheap P. Outer case kind that Ua buys by the crate for field social emergencies. He slides one under a rolling cart with a toe flick, angles it with a skiff of ice, and suddenly we've got a 4th line of sight from the floor. Bending around the statue's heel. The other mirror he leans against a support beam so it bounces my glare back past its shoulder. We don't talk about how mirrors count. We don't need to. If the line hits, the rule holds. That's enough. Down the hall, another siren starts, A different tone, higher. Footsteps. Heavy ones. Approach. The PCB's riot team. Backup. No. The men that walk into a room like they own the edges step in first, black suits under armored vests with white bands on the arms. Their lead's hair looks salon perfect even under fluorescence. He doesn't introduce himself. He doesn't have to. The emblem on his collar does it for him. Adept Null. Eyes forward, the new guy says, voice low and surgical. Don't blink on my count. Blink when I say. He walks a man who expects the air to get out of his way. He stops at my left. Doesn't look at me. Looks at the statue like a dog whose owner gave it a command and he's waiting for the treat of obeying it. Your Kaza Tenma, I say. Not taking my eyes off the thing either. He cocks an eyebrow, never breaking gaze. And your Midoriya, the one who posted. Don't crowd, pair up, announce blinks without clearance. People were dying, I say. They needed 3 steps, not a press release. Press releases keep panic down. He rolls his shoulders once and the air around him ripples, like heat off asphalt. Null halo deploying. The room reacts to him. Not visually. No big light show, but my strobe app hiccups. Bakugo grunts and taps his phone like it offended him. Todoroki sharpens a thin line of frost between 2 crates and it vanishes mid-grow. Aizawa swears in a way that would make his own homeroom turn and stare. Stop, I say, quick and clean. Not yet. I nullify anomalous rules, Kaza says. As if reminding me where the bathroom is. This is an anomalous rule. The statue twitches. We all feel it. The almost move just before a runner breaks blocks. The air around the thing becomes a possibility, slick and angled. Wanting an excuse. Null off, I bark. Now, Kaza doesn't like orders he didn't give. You can see it in the little delay. But he's smart, and smart people know when to be fast. The ripple subsides. The frost line returns. My strobe ticks again on beat. The statue settles back into ugly calm. I breathe. Null scrambles the frame, I say. If you don't reset with a new stable frame ready. It grabs what it wants. Right now what it wants is free. Anecdote, Kaza says. He still doesn't blink. I prefer data. Cool. Bakugo mutters. Prefer not hearing your voice. Blink on 2 if you're left. I repeat, louder, because the room is about to get crowded and loud rooms make people dumb. On 3 if you're right. Anchor doesn't blink. We move the lift cage around it, not it into the cage. We don't break sight lines. Aizawa moves. He's a shadow that learned how to be a parent and never forgot the first part. He threads around behind us, hooks the bent lift door with his scarf. And pulls. It scrapes and shrieks. He holds it there with a foot, scarf wrapped twice to make a pulley. Uraraka makes the door weightless with a fingertip and a, sorry, door. Because she never stops being kind, even when she's using physics like a blade. We start the dance. 1, 2, 3, blink. 1, 2, 3, blink. Every time we swap, the mirrors catch what we're losing. The strobe patting the rhythm like invisible drums. I feel sweat tickle my lip and don't wipe it. My eyelashes itch and I don't scratch. A PCB rookie peeks around the corner with his phone up and I say without moving my mouth. Put the phone down. He does. That's leadership. Making your voice sound like a firm hand so people do the right thing before they think about it. The statue doesn't move, but somehow it manages to be everywhere, every thought, every next moment possibility. I keep my eyes on its shoulders. If it's going to lunge, that's where the tell will start. Compression. Not breath. Not muscles. Conceptual tension. Talk me through your cadence, Kaza says. Watch, I say. He watches. Good. He seems like the kind of guy who resents learning anything he didn't discover himself. Today he can resent me productively. We slide the cage over 1 notch at a time. Aizawa and Uraraka handle the weight. Todoroki locks the wheels with lace-thin ice. Bakugo keeps 2 mirrors steady by sheer angry intimidation. And I conduct. When the cage is finally braced around the statue, my shoulders sag. Not relief. Just that moment your brain warns your body you'll be tired later. Latch, I say. Aizawa coils his scarf around the twisted gate and ties a knot that probably has a name that sailors whisper to each other. Uraraka releases her quirk and the bars crash down with a hollow bang. The statue remains where we left it, inches from iron. 1. I say, more to us than it. 2. 3. We keep cadence all the way through the final click. Locks slide. The lift whines. The cage shutters shut. Bakugo's grin is sharp enough to cut paper. Boxed, he says. He doesn't high-five. He doesn't need to. The grin is enough. PCB will take custody, a woman in a tailored suit says from the doorway. As if she's been in the room the entire time, coughing politely. She wears a badge that says she's allowed to tell people where to stand and what will happen to them if they don't. Thank you for your service. Please clear sublevel 3. Aizawa doesn't blink even then. That's why his eyes are red all the time. Not just quirk. Habit. He looks at me and waits. I'll walk it to transfer, I say. That won't be necessary, the woman says, smile perfect. This is a paracausal containment bureau matter. I made a promise, I say. To the people upstairs who heard a snap and are still listening for another one. Something shifts. Not the statue. The room. The hierarchy. Kaza notices it too. He tilts his head half a degree like a man testing which way wind plans to be difficult. You can walk it, he says to me, cutting the suit off. But you'll do it under adept null supervision. He looks at the PCB woman like she asked him to apologize for existing. For safety. She hates that. I don't look at her. I say, deal. We move. The lift cage creeps along tracks like an animal that just remembered it's a machine. We keep the cadence. Eyes on. Mirrors catching. Strobe steady. Halfway to transfer, someone shouts from the upper staircase. Civilians. 2 of them. A couple who ignored the cordon because cordons look like suggestions if you're used to wall. King passed. Please do not touch. Signs in museums. They hold phones like talismans. The phones. Lights are on. Don't come down. I say calmly, not loudly, not angry. Calm as a hook. They hang on it. We just wanted to. The guy starts. Nope. Bakugo says. Turn. Around. The woman blinks fast, like she's trying not to cry, like she's trying not to look at the thing we're making very hard not to be a panic. We wanted to help. You did, I say, because their hearts are in the right place and hearts are heavy. You stayed put for 5 minutes. That's why we boxed it. Now you get to help again. Go upstairs and tell people not to crowd. Pairs only. Whoever you partner with, you count blinks out loud. Like this. I demonstrate. 1, 2, 3, blink. 1, 2, 3, blink. You'll know your Eon beat because you'll feel less scared. That last part is true and also a magic trick. Rhythm turns fear into something with a handle. They go. That's the second promise kept. We clear the corridor lines and hit transfer 3. The room is better. Fewer cameras, a switch that kills them all with a satisfying thunk, matte black walls that drink reflections. The PCB suit keys a code. The door hisses. On my mark, Kaza says, lowering a web of black hoops from his shoulder rig. He doesn't put the halo up. He learned something in there. We bracket and brace. Midoriya, you call cadence. 1, I say, phone strobe pulsing. 2, 3, we move as a single ugly, beautiful thing. Heroes and agents in a bureaucracy that wishes we'd just be polite and leave. The cage slides to its recess. Brackets lock. The statue is now a gross little idea behind bars with nothing to look at it except us. The PCB team does what PCB teams do. Checklist, signatures, more signatures about the signatures. The suit recites a batch of phrases that probably mean, we get to blame you if this goes wrong. A reporter across the cordon tries to aim a camera through the doorway. A PCB guard puts a clipboard D in front of the lens like a sad shield. The reporter streams anyway because that's what cameras do. They eat and they never get full. That's when I notice it. In the live viewfinder reflection across the hall. The static pattern resolves into a crisp shape. Not letters. Not numbers. A spiral with 2 cross strokes like a designer got bored doing logos and decided to reinvent a maze. I tilt my head a little and the spiral tilts with me. It pulses. Do you see that? I say softly. Uraraka follows my eyes. Where? In the noise, I say. Scratch that. Don't look for it. I'm not sure why I say that. Instinct. The word stays lodged under my tongue like a pebble. Kaza, of course, looks. He's a hammer who thinks nails are compliments. His jaw sets. I see an algorithmic artifact. Broadcasting self-similarity. English. Bakugo says. Kaza says nothing. That tells me more than a speech would have. Midoriya, Aizawa says in my ear, the way he does when he wants to ask if I'm a boo. To do something he'll support and then have to defend at a hearing. We're done here. Almost, I say. The suit from PCB clears her throat. We appreciate your assistance. We will take it from here. Her smile is so smooth you could skate on it. I'm tired enough that the part of me that enjoys being petty wants to ask if she practiced it in a mirror. I don't. I put both hands on the cage rail and lean forward. Enough to make the guards tense, not enough to be stupid. I tell the statue something I learned from my mother when I was 6 and scared of the dark. You don't decide who I am. No one laughs. Good. I didn't say it for them. I said it because the room keeps trying to turn into a story where a crowd watches and the crowd makes the monster strong, and I don't like that story. We are not a crowd. We are a team. Teams have beats and beats become language and language can instruct the universe to chill out for a second. Rap, Aizawa says, because he knows when to call it. We back out in cadence. Not because we need to now, but because ending how you started teaches your body the right ritual. I thumb the strobe off. The world gets softer around the edges. Bakugo rolls his neck. Todoroki finally blinks like a cat who pretends it meant to. Uraraka exhales and her breath shakes once and then steadies. Outside, the media wall buzzes. People hold up signs that say he rose in marker and we trust you in printed vinyl and stop hiding the truth in stencil font. All of it is attention. All of it wants to be a ritual. I keep walking. I don't turn it into anything. Good work, Kaza says. Stepping into my path just enough that we have to share the same piece of floor. Up close, he's younger than the voice suggested, older than the haircut implies. His eyes look like someone who doesn't nap. You turned your halo off, I say. I adjust when reality suggests I should. He pauses. Your cadence. Where did you learn something like that? In a hallway 3 minutes ago, I say. Aizawa taught me how to trust tests. Bakugo taught me that people keep up if you make the tempo fun. Uraraka taught me how to be brave without being stupid. Todoroki taught me ice reflects better than steel. Kaza's mouth twitches. It might be a smile in a mirror. And what did I teach you? That anti-deity tools can make gods if you're sloppy, I say. I also learned you're not sloppy on purpose. He considers that, then nods. Once. We have telemetry from the Halo field spike. If you want to see it. Only if I get to show you something, I say, and flick my eyes toward the live feed monitor across the hall. Right on cue, the spiral in the noise does its little polite pulse. Like a metronome. Like an invitation. I saw it, Kaza says. He doesn't like admitting that. He does it anyway. We'll run an analysis. Quietly. Loudly. I say. Or you'll be doing the quiet version forever. He looks like he wants to argue. He doesn't. He slides a card between 2 fingers and presses it into my hand. The card is matte. The emblem on it looks expensive. Adept null. Kaza Tenma. The back is blank. People who think they're important love blank backs. It lets the person holding it project what they want. Keep eyes on your people, he says. You too, I say. And take breaks. Your pupils look like you hate blinking. He actually laughs. Occupational hazard. Aizawa tugs our line toward the exit. He doesn't like us lingering in rooms where the furniture has opinions. We follow. A slouchy line that isn't slouchy under the hood. The crowd outside does what crowds do. Yell, cheer, project. A kid on someone's shoulders holds a cardboard statuary of something with big eyes and the word safe written under it in pen. My stomach flips and rights itself. I tap my earpiece to mute and bend toward the kid. Hey, I say, nice art. Want a pro tip? He nods so hard his hat falls over one eye. Heroes practice blinking together, I say. It helps. I show him. Quiet. 1, 2, 3, blink. He grins and does it with me. His mom laughs, shaking her head like she knows she shouldn't be grateful a teenager in green spandex just taught her kid how to blink. We walk on. The annex doors close behind us with a finality that refuses to be ominous. Good. I'm tired of ominous pretending it's responsible. When we reach the curb, Uraraka bumps my shoulder with hers. Not soft. Supportive. You okay? Ask me in 20 minutes, I say, and the honest sound in my own voice surprises me. You. Ask me in 21, she says, and we both laugh, because sometimes the only way to keep the room from becoming a ritual is to make your own. Laughter is a good one. It breaks patterns that shouldn't be solid. Bakugo pops his neck again, cracks his knuckles, and points his chin at the annex. You're going to get in trouble with the commission for that. No speeches, comment. They can write me a memo, I say. They will, Aizawa says. I won't read it. Todor. Oki looks at the sky like it owes him a weather report. We should eat. Always down, Bakugo says. Deku pays. He invented a new fighting style in a hallway. That's a dinner bill. I'll get dessert, Uraraka says. We deserve sugar. Kaza hangs back near the doorway, speaking into a wrist mic, the shape of his voice all business. He glances up just once, just long enough for me to see that he is, in fact, going to look at the noise in the camera feed again when we're gone. Good, he should, but not alone. I tuck his card into my glove and start rehearsing a very short, very practical briefing for anyone who asks. What did you do down there? I'll say. We counted. We breathed. We didn't make it a show. We moved a thing that kills you when you blink by blinking smarter than it could stand. No epilogues. No foreboding thunder. Just a beat that's ours now. 1, 2, 3, I tap once on my thigh. Blink. And for the first time since the chalk break, I let myself. Chapter 1 end. Chapter 2. The Quiet War. The Commission's conference room isn't big, just expensive. Frosted glass, chairs that try to make you feel small with comfort. A light hum in the vents that somehow says, you're being recorded, without words. Aizawa stands behind me like a quiet wall. Bakugo leans wrong in a chair on purpose. Todoroki reads the whole table like it might try something. Uraraka's hands are relaxed on her knees. Mine sit on a single page I printed in black and white. Across the table, 3 HPSC commissioners, a Paracausal Containment Bureau director with a smile that files paperwork by itself. And Kaza Tenma of Adept Null. He didn't take a seat. He stands with his palms resting on the back of a chair like a teacher who refuses to commit to a posture. The commission chair clears her throat. Let's begin. Unauthorized dissemination of field guidance to civilians. Saved lives, Aizawa says, deadpan. We aren't debating intent, the PCB director adds. We're underscoring risk. The public doesn't understand anomalous load. More eyes can multiply the problem, I say. I understand. That's why the guidance says pair up, not pile in. The chair folds her hands. UWI-LL sign a non-disclosure specific to SCP-173, its emergent behaviors, and any derivative tactics. This is not punitive. It's for stability. Stability for who? Bakugo says. Everyone. The chair replies, still smiling. Chaos aids the enemy. I slide my single page forward. It's not a manifesto. It's a safety card. 3 lines, big font. Don't crowd. Pair up. Announce blinks out loud. If you're not on a team, don't film. Under that, one diagram showing 2 stick figures side by side with speech bubbles. 1, 2, 3, blink. The chair looks at it like I put a frog on a wedding cake. Cute. It's what I'd want if I was stuck in a stairwell and heard a snap, I say. Kaza studies the page, eyebrow angled. You'll cause people to improvise. They already are, Uraraka says, gentle but not soft. We're just giving them something that isn't panic. The PCB director taps a tablet. We can build PSAs. Controlled, vetted, timelines. However, people don't wait for our timelines when they hear screaming. I say, they look. We cannot pretend they won't. So we teach them how to look without feeding the thing. Midoriya, Aizawa says in that teacher tone that means, we're about to do the honesty part. Are you open to compromise? Sure, I say. I won't explain the anomaly. I'll explain what not to do. That's different. Kaza glances at the commissioners. Run a test. The chair shifts. A test. Quote. Simulation. Kaza says. 2 corridors, same constraints. One team uses Midoriya's cadence with civilians. One team uses standard null protocol. Minimal risk. Maximum clarity. Bakugo grins. Finally, something fun. The chair doesn't like being dared. She really doesn't like being dared by someone on her own side. Pride and Optics wrestle behind her face. Optics wins. Fine. Controlled exercise. No live broadcast. Deal, I say. We head to the lowest level of the building, where a pair of training corridors sit mirror-matched behind blast glass. They look like they were designed by someone who loved geometry more than people. 90-degree angles, matte walls, cameras tucked like nervous eyes in the corners. 2 stone mock-ups with motion rigs wait under tarps. Not the thing. Simulators. Todoroki tests the weight of one tarp with his foot. Kaza steps into the left corridor with 3 adept null operatives. He slides on his rig. The halo is dormant, but he carries it like a coiled muscle. I take the right corridor with my team and 4 volunteer staffers who already look like they regret volunteering. Aizawa's voice hits both channels. Rules. Corridors are wired with motion triggers and auto-tracking cameras. If a rig detects unobserved space on a target, it surges forward. If your team creates a blind zone, you get tagged. Tag equals casualty. No speeches. That last part is for everyone, I say. Especially you, Aizawa says, and I can hear Bakugo smile. We start simultaneously. Left corridor, Kaza's voice in his team's ears. Front pair maintain gaze. Rear pair provide redundancy. Null at 5% to suppress emergent anomalies. Right corridor, I raise 2 fingers. 1, 2, 3, blink. We don't march in a line. Lines are beautiful traps. We move in AV that keeps the center clear. Uraraka anchors front left. Eyes steady, breath even. Todoroki runs mirrors along the floor with thin ice kisses that don't reflect rooms, just angles. Bakugo guards the rear with a face that says he wishes the fake was the real thing. Our volunteers carry nothing but the card they memorized. They whisper counts under their breath, then speak louder when they realize whispering breaks rhythm. We hit the first corner. On my left, Kaza calls, null at 10, and the overhead cameras in his corridor hiccup, try to reacquire, and there, one rig surges. An alarm chirps. A red LED paints a chest. Casualty, Aizawa's neutral voice notes. Kaza barely tilts his head. Reset. We make our corner doing the opposite. We don't touch the cameras. We use a shoulder mirror to catch the angle the wall tries to hide. Our front pair blinks on 2, rear pair on 3. I skip a blink to confirm they can hold tempo without me. They do. I let that win live in the room. At the second corner, Kaza's team wins 1 back. He hands his rear pair a count in staccato. On my clap, blink, and they cut blind spots with perfectly timed peaks. The rig twitches and dies on their rhythm. He looks through the glass at me, not smug, not gloating, just marking the point. We push into a narrow choke where the cameras stack like they're nervous. The rig waits at the far end, set to pounce if our gaze weaves slips by a hair. I point 2 volunteers to the wall and have them face away. One looks back, but I thought, trust, I say. When I say blink, you blink. Not before, not after. They nod. I count. 1, 2, 3, blink. We slide through. The rig doesn't get a gift. On his side, Kaza makes a textbook move that should work. A controlled null pulse to freeze the rig's decision tree long enough to walk past. The pulse hits. The camera's reboot. Auto-tracking picks up 4 faces at once and tries to be helpful. The STEM decides there are 4 targets and flags all of them with red lines. 2 chirps. 2 casualties. Kaza's jaw tightens. He doesn't argue with the metric. Reset. We reach the final stretch. This one is mean. 2 floor cameras facing up at shin level. 1 at ceiling height pointing down. A mirror at the end to trick you into thinking you're looking at more space than exists. It's the kind of setup that punishes confidence. Kill the mirror, I say. Todoroki flicks the smallest ice shard into the frame. It cracks like a dry laugh. Nothing's elegant after that, and that's fine. We're not here for elegance. We're here to finish. 1, 2, 3, blink. We finish. Adept null corridor complete in 1 minute 37 with 2 tags, Aizawa announces. Midoriya corridor complete in 125 with 0 tags. Kaza's team exits. No sulking. Professional. He steps into our corridor and reads it like a story. Mirror scratches, footprints where the volunteers hesitated, the way. Our pattern logged in the cameras, lazy buffering. That ceiling eye, he says, pointing at the third camera. Autotrack is set to face prioritization. Which turned your null into a gift, I say. He exhales. Yes. The commission chair watches us over the railing like a cat that wants to claim the whole house as a personal item. Demonstration is noted. However, this only proves cadence is effective in controlled spaces. The public is not controlled. Neither is a blackout, I say. Or a festival. Or a shopping center with mirrors for fun. Your guidance will inspire lookers, the PCB director presses. We need them to not look. Tell them not to look and they will, Uraraka says. Tell them how to look and they'll stop trying to be heroes alone. Silence. Then Kaza. Crisp. Issue the card. Do not include anomalous specifics. Keep lines actionable. My team will update null protocols to avoid triggering autotrack cascades. The chair doesn't nod. She simply says, if this gets messy, it's on your name. Midoriya. Mine's already on it, I say. I'm not hiding from being useful. We leave with exactly as much permission as we need and 0 more. I shoot the card to a UA network admin and ask for an internal share, local schools first, hospital staff next, then the municipal app. Nothing flashy, no hashtags, words like speed bumps, slow panic long enough to choose better. By dusk, people are repeating the count at bus stops like they're sharing a game. By night, something else appears too. A trending clip. 2 teens in matching hoodies standing dead still, a ND staring into their phone cam in a garage, captioned, "Join the stillness." The comments flood with jokes, then with copied videos, then with a shaky, church, stream that features candles, mirrors taped in a circle. And a stylized spiral logo in the corner. It's the spiral from the static. The strokes are cleaner. The center is deeper. I'm on the UA roof when it pops. City stretched out like a circuit board. A breeze that thinks it can erase sweat. Uraraka joins me with a bag of vending machine melon pan and 2 cold tea cans pressed to her cheeks. You saw it too, she says. Yeah, I the tea and rest it at the base of my neck. How many followers in an hour do you think makes a meme into a ritual? Fewer than we want, she says. More than is fair. We sit, not like a date, like teammates who earn sitting. Down on the practice field, Bakugo runs Aoyama and Kirishima through a blink count while yelling that if they mess up he will scream the numbers into their souls. They laugh, and also don't mess up. Part of me wants to post again and yell, don't do the spiral thing, I say. And part of you knows telling people not to do a thing turns the thing into candy, she says. Exactly. So what do we do? She asks. Make our thing more useful than their thing, I say. We make it feel human. Not performative. She bumps my shoulder. Like the way you explained it to that kid. You'll feel less scared on beat. That line. Perfect. Not science. Not lies. Just true. I smile at the turf. I got lucky. You're good, she says. Proud of you. My ears burn. That can happen to pros, too. Proud of you too. She opens a melon pan, breaks it, hands me half. So, plan. Short videos, I say. Not lectures. People counting together in ugly places. Nurses in a hallway. 2 shopkeepers in a shuttered store. A firefighter and a random neighbor. Different faces. Different accents. Same beat. We make it obvious this isn't a cult because the point isn't worship. It's care. Maybe no logo, she says. Definitely no logo, I say. Her phone buzzes. She glances, then shows me the screen. A trending still God account is being shared by a couple of local celebrities who probably think it's edgy performance art. The spiral in their clip subtly rotates every 6 seconds, which is a weird choice unless you want to sync something later. See the spin? She asks. I wish I didn't, I say. Kaza texts. Not words, not a selfie, not a smug line about simulations. A screenshot of null telemetry from the earlier corridor, overlaid with a faint pattern. A waveform spike at intervals that match the spiral's subtle rotation. He adds 3 words. We're being arranged. I type back. Then we arrange better. No emoji. He'd hate it. I tuck my phone away. We cut the videos before midnight. Not glossy. Stories is work. Present tense. Pair blinking. A simple subtitle. If you're not on a team, don't film. Pair up. Announce blinks. That's it. No mention of statues, containment, anomalies, or gods. Just one beat. Aizawa grudgingly approves the copy and forwards it to a handful of principals and hospital heads. If you send this to a platform, I never saw it, he says. His way of saying we can be useful off the clock. In the morning, 2 ICU nurses post their own version from a dim corridor with beeping monitors. They count through a twilight. Shift and end with a little laugh like you laugh when you didn't drop the tray. That one lands harder than ours. By noon, store owners we've never met are doing it while restocking shelves. A Metro A.T. attendant does it alone at the end of a platform, then turns and waves at the camera like a human being, not an algorithm. The wave gets shared more than the blink. And at the edge of all that, the Still God channel scales up. They rent a warehouse and hang mirror strips like wind chimes. They sell pins with the spiral logo. They publish a schedule. Synchronize at 1917. Number the gaze. The calm. Ments adjust and correct each other with scary politeness. I don't look away from the reality that our card helped make the stage. Teaching people how to not feed the thing also taught them that their attention has teeth. The architect, whatever it is, loves teeth. Commission wants a follow-up, Aizawa says around a mouthful of burnt coffee. He's scrolling headlines without soaking them, filtering noise for true risks. They want you in the room to acknowledge the limits of public cooperation. Translation. Apologize for making citizens competent, I say. Translation. They're scared of losing the microphone, he says. We go anyway. You don't get to pick your rooms, you only pick what you are in them. In the lobby, a junior PCB analyst tries to block our elevator with the kind of confidence that comes from a fresh badge. Meeting is restricted, she says. Hero license, Aizawa says, and keeps walking. She learns a new rule. Be right or be in the way. The meeting is smaller. Fewer smiles. Kaza is already there. Hands in pockets, empty coffee on the table, eyes that say he slept about 16 minutes. He nods at us without scenery. The chair opens a folder like she's peeling an orange with a judge's gavel. You've created a parallel narrative, she tells me. The public sees itself as part of containment now. They always were, I say. Which increases the risk of cult formation, the PCB director adds. Sliding photos across the table. Mirror circles, candles, spirals, a shirt that says don't blink in a font that wants to sell you shoes. They're calling it the Still God. They attribute the card to blessed instruction. Then we take ownership of the boring parts, I say. Remind them blinking is a chore, not a prayer. Kaza taps a printout, a timing chart. The spiral's rotation matches a feed glitch cadence in 3 municipal camera networks. Someone is piggybacking. Someone, the chair repeats like she wants it to be a person she can subpoena. The architect, Kaza says without flourish. He doesn't look at me, he doesn't need to. Or something that wants coordination as food. The chair clamps her folder shut. We're not invoking that term in this building. Then call it the pattern, Uraraka says, calm as a held hand. People will name it anyway. The chair inhales. We are moving SCP-173 to a secondary site. Quietly, I walk it again, I say. No, she says. This time, we use a controlled broadcast to demonstrate authority and ensure compliance. A reassuring visual. There it is. The microphone, again. Bad idea, Kaza says. Broadcast attracts gaze. Gaze becomes load. Load becomes leverage. Authority matters, the PCB director replies. We show we have this. You show you have something, I say. Not this. The chair looks past me to Aizawa. You will contain your student. Aizawa's eyes are redder today. He doesn't blink. I don't contain truth, he says. We don't get a vote. We get a schedule. We leave. In the elevator, Bakugo slams the stop button, glares at all of us, then hits start again. Okay, now that I've contributed, Todoroki gets a text. He shows it to me. It's from Momo. We built compact blink meters. Tactile. 2-person. Tested on campus. A photo. 2 little clip devices with a haptic pulse that taps the count into your finger. No screens. No spiral holes to slip through. Just a tiny drum you wear. Perfect. I say. We push those out with the Starlight videos. Less eyes on phones. More fingers on beats. After lunch we run live drills at a civic center. Not flashy. Chalk lines on concrete. Volunteers from shops. Bus drivers on break. An old couple who bicker in a way that means they like each other. I don't lecture. I start the count and hand it off. Watching PLE own the beat is better than any speech. That night, a mid-tier influencer shows up at the civic center with a ring light and a box of spiral pins. He asks to film the hero's official cadence. The ring light puts a weird halo in Uraraka's eyes. She steps out of it like it bit. No filming, I say, smiling with my eyes. Pair up. You'll feel less scared on beat. He pouts for his audience. His chat loves the conflict. Comments pop like oil. He tries to turn away and scream about censorship. Bakugo steps forward, raises one finger, and in the simplest voice he has says, "Count." "Wah, count," Bakugo repeats, "or get out of the way." The influencer laughs, then looks at his own cameraman. The cameraman's hands are shaking. He kills the light, sets the rig down, and pairs with a grandma who says, "I've been blinking since before your mother was born, kid. Come on." They count. The influencer films his shoes for 30 seconds, then raises the camera and captures the humming sound of 24 pairs syncing up. No statue, no threat, just people practicing being useful. He posts that, and for once, the algorithm picks content that doesn't make things worse. Later, on the UA balcony again, Kaza shows up like a shadow that got lost. He hands me a small drive. Telemetry from every municipal camera in a 5-kilometer radius during the transfer window. Look at the micro droop on the frame intervals. I slot the drive into a school laptop and pull up the log. Every few seconds, a frame lingers a hair too long, like the city blinked out of rhythm. The lag lines up WITH the spiral spin from the still God streams. Not a lot, enough for a smart thing to surf. This is the part one hate, Kaza says. Coordination is my job, and something is using it better than me. Then we get better, I say. He half laughs. You say that like it's as easy as breathing. It isn't, I say. We do it anyway. He studies me, not threatening, measuring how much load I'll try to carry versus how much I'll actually carry. There's a rumor, he says. Commission wants to stage a final containment demonstration tomorrow. Project codename Keter Apex. I don't need more details to hate it. Public. Technical term is controlled narrative event. Open feed, I say. Big cameras. He nods once. You'll say no. I'll say careful, I say. And then I'll bring mirrors. He pockets his hands again and stares out at the city. You were right about my halo. And you were right that I was reckless publishing the card without you, I say. Next time, we do both. Fast and smart. That implies a next time, he says, the closest thing to a joke I've heard from him. Yeah, I say, it does. Down on the field, Kirishima gets the blink count wrong, blinks on 2 when he's supposed to be 3. And Mina smacks his shoulder with a grin. He laughs, calls himself manly stupid, and corrects. No one dies. The practice hum grows. Uraraka leans out the door, hair tied up, cheeks damp from washing. Hey, strategists. You going to brood all night? Are you going to eat the noodles I delivered before Bakugo weapon Izesh them? Kaza glances at me like he didn't know what to do with that sentence. I shrug. She means come eat food. We do. Bakugo complains that I didn't order extra chili oil. I pretend that was a plan to keep him from breaking our blink meters with enthusiasm. Todoroki brings ice and sets it on the table like a gift. Aizawa sits with us and drinks tea with the look of a man processing 30 memos through the shredder in his head. On screens across the city, the spiral glows. On phones across the city, the count hums. In 100 boring rooms, people learn to trust the person at their side for 3 numbers at a time. That's not a cult. That's a neighborhood. When I finally crash, it's not with dread. It's with the sound of a room breathing on beat, a small thing that keeps larger things from deciding who we are. Morning will Gee, the cameras and the show someone thinks they need. We'll bring mirrors, cadence, and a field full of volunteers who don't want to be heroes, they want to be helpful. That's a good start. Chapter 2 end. Chapter 3. Blackout Heist. Transfer starts at 23:05. At 23:06, the grid dies. Not a flicker. A hard drop. The annex exhales into absolute dark and then panic tries to be born. Phones down. I shout before the first 1,000 reflexes fire up. If you're not on a team, don't light anything. Too late in a dozen places. White cones stab the hulls as if we all decided to summon the thing on purpose. Each cone becomes a tiny stage, and in each stage, a concrete shape arrives. Short, ugly arms, smooth head, closer than it has any right to be. Cadence now, Aizawa rasps, already rubbing his eyes raw. We don't have the luxury of perfect. Bakugo hammers a blast straight up. The brief flare paints the corridor, then showers grit. That enough light for you, nerd? Not light, I say, already moving, already cataloging. Angles. The cage wheels squeal. The statue inside is absolutely patient with its impatience. Uraraka sticks to the bars, knuckles chalk white, eyes fixed. Todoro. He skates a knife-thin line of ice along wall seams to catch the last scraps of ambient glow. The haptic blink meters Momo made buzz on our fingers. 2 taps, then 3. Count without your mouth when your mouth is busy not screaming. Kaza appears out of the dark like the dark hired him. His operatives fan the rear, rigs dead quiet. No halo hum, he learned. Good. Annex stairs are crowded, he reports. Calm. Phones everywhere. Then section them, I say. Break the snake. 2-person posts in doorways only. If they insist on helping, give them jobs. He keys his mic. Adept null alpha to civilian lines. Pairs only. Doorways only. Count out loud. 1 2 3 blink. Lights low. Don't track the cage with your phones. Copy. A dozen tired voices answer, and the sound is the only reason I'm not more terrified. Tired people who still say copy are the backbone of the world. We roll. The blackout turned the annex into a maze that forgot it was a building. Todoroki's ice lace catches stray city glow through high windows. Bakugo's spent blasts leave reflective scars that bounce enough glint to make our mirrors matter. I throw 2 compact mirrors to Sue and Iida as they swing in from a side corridor. Hungry for instruction. Corners and ankles, I say. Don't make it pretty. Uraraka's voice stays steady even while her shoulders shake. I've got anchor. Call me if you need a break. Not letting you do a 10-minute staring contest, I say. She doesn't look away. I know, she says, and that's the nicest argument we've ever had. We hit the first choke point. A vending no. K stacked with reflective soda door glass that doubles the world into a kaleidoscope of bad decisions. The cage scrapes the jam and sticks. Perfect. Hold cadence, I say. Back pair on 3. Front pair on 2. Bakugo. Break me a window without breaking my window. He pops a narrow line of micro-explosions like he's punching the idea of glass, and the glare drops from chaos to controllable glitter. Todoroki sneaks frost over the shards to stop them from mirroring our eyes. Uraraka licks her lips and keeps breathing like she's counting waves. 1 2 3 blink. 1 2 3 blink. The statue doesn't move. It wants to. You can feel it, like a dog shivering just short of the command it hates. Left cart, I say, and Iida's already got his hands on it, speeds it into place, cuts a sightline into a wedge. Asui slides a mirror under the cart. Frogs know how to be low and helpful. We clear the jam. The cage moans like a dragged chain. I want to apologize to it for the noise and immediately decide that is the dumbest instinct I've ever had. On the stairs landing above, white cones dance. A pair of teens hold up phones and try to help by tracking us like we're a parade. The statue blurs inside the cage, half-inch. No more, but that's enough to put the room on a tilt. Hey, I shout up, aiming my voice where their brains can catch it. You two, partners, good, stand still in the door. Count for each other. Don't point those at us. You'll degrade. They freeze. One lowers his phone like it suddenly weighs a kilo. The other follows. 1 2 3, floats down the stairwell like a rope we can climb. Uraraka's laugh is tiny and wrecked. I like him. We'll send them melon pan coupons later, I say. We creep into corridor B. The blackout has turned every exit sign into a little red heartbeat. The statue inside the cage is a study in not moving. I hate that I can tell when it's about to take a step I won't see. Next corner's dead, Kaza says, reading the schematics from memory. Camera arrays off. No reflection. No track. You're going to make a blind gap one way or another. Then we don't give it a corridor, I say. We give it a funnel. Bakugo whistle. S3 notes like he's calling an elevator. The null operatives he doesn't know yet still move on his sound because the sound was confident. They stack riot shields in a narrowing overlap the way chair stacks in a stream just before a fall. Todoroki paints a dull glaze across the convex surfaces. Uraraka taps the top shield within, I'm sorry, and floats it just enough to lean the angle into a sightline. Aizawa pulls the far end tight with his scarf. Count, I say, and the room answers. The doorpost pairs, the kids on the stairs, a janitor on break who didn't go home because he heard a snap once 20 years ago and remembered how it sounds. 1 2 3 blink. We drain the blind. Nothing lunges. I let my shoulders unclench one notch and no more. The next hall is where the building decides to be mean. 4 intersecting walkways. Glass walls that look out onto a dark courtyard where the city lights die like rain. The blackout has invited half the neighborhood to the fences. Their phones glitter like a constellation that forgot what the sky is for. As the cage nose crosses the threshold, dozens of outside lights find us by accident, and the reflection breeds. The air fills with little 173s, not real. Not with mass, but with enough presence to push your instincts around. Every phone lens bursts an echo. Every echo looks frozen by its own viewer but not by the person next to them. I watch 2 reflections try to occupy the same square meter and get in each other's way for half a heartbeat, and it's the most human thing the statue has ever done. Hey, Musutafu, I yell through the glass. Pairs only. Doorways and windows. Count for each other, not for us. Some of them hear me as a soundbite and hit live. Some of them hear me as a person and put their phones down and find a shoulder. That second group saves the first group from their own content. A kid near the fence sticks his tongue out while he counts because he's 8 and it helps. The instance closest to him doesn't move. Good. My chest loosens. That's data. Kaza's hand grazes my sleeve. Hey, I'm still here. His eyes do a tiny left-right like he's checking my pace more than the threat. He gestures with his chin. Asking what I want next like that's a language we already speak. Rear cadence is yours, I say, picking the words on purpose, even though it costs me control I like too much. You break, we break. You own it. Quote. He doesn't say thanks. He just takes the beat like it's his, which is what I wanted. He snaps to his team. Rear, on me. Blink on 3. If I go down, you keep the number. We move. We're half past the courtyard when somebody runs. Not at us. Across the annex lobby, a blur of panic and hoodie. He vaults the interior rail and lands badly. Ankle screams, phone arcs out, light stays on. And that cone becomes a tiny altar where something cruel would love to be worshipped. The statue inside the cage doesn't move. The one outside it does. Not made of matter. Made of attention. A phantom jerk with force to spare. It snaps toward the kid like the universe skipping a frame, neck hunger writ in architecture. Left no look. I shout. Uraraka spins, slap. Her hand lightly to the closest rolling cart, floats it, and kicks it into the cone of light to block the line. The instant stutters. Bakugo blasts the ceiling again, a horizontal streak that scrubs glare off a whole wall. Todoroki smokes the floor with a controlled frost to dull shine. Kaza takes the rear count down into his gut and sings it there, voice quiet but unshakable. 1, 2, 3. I jump the rail. Knees don't like it. Tough. I land next to the kid and slide on my side to put my body between him and any mistake we haven't made yet. He's crying but trying to hide it because so. Me1 told him tears are impolite in emergencies. Count with me, I say. You're my partner now. 1, he wheezes. 2, I say. 3, he says, and blinks on cue. Above us, an echo tries to get clever and almost puts its little hands where my neck would be if we weren't living on a beat. It fails. Beats are rude to monsters. 2 PCB responders reach us, scoop the kid in his ankle, and buzz jog toward the med bay. He looks back at me like he just remembered I'm on TV sometimes. Thanks, he says. Practice blinking, I say, dead serious. He laughs in the way people laugh when they're going to be okay. We heard the cage past the kill zone. The courtyard phones settle into something useful. Pairs, doorways, counting. Humming happens. A human hum. That sound becomes a floor to walk on. We hit the service corridor that feeds the negative observation chamber. No cameras by design. Baffles on the walls like the building wants to swallow sight. Perfect for our goal. Terrible for our rule. Mirrors only from here, I say. No glances. Hands off lenses. Phones down. Do not film us being responsible. Aizawa pads ahead and lays his scarf across a hatch seam to feel for drafts and tricks. He nods. Clean. We squeeze through an S-bend that turns cadence into religion, but the kind that's just muscle memory. Stand. Kneel. Breathe. Count. Stand. The cage barely clears. The statue stays quiet in its own awful way. Uraraka signals with her free hand for the last volunteer pair at the door to switch to 2-on-3 blinks. They grin like they've been picked for the team. Kaz's voice hits my ear. Different than before. Not neutral. Chosen. Rear cadence steady. No halo. Keep it that way, I say, half a grin in my voice. The chamber opens like a soundproof mouth. Inside, matte panels, light traps, a dead zone pit for reflections, and a kill switch that makes every LED in a kilometer hold its breath. On my mark, I say, and the cadence piped through the city narrows with us down into a single room. It feels like the world is holding an eyelid open first because we asked nicely and promised to be quick. We hit the rails. Brackets lock. The cage clicks into its slot. For 3 heartbeats. Nothing moves. Not even us, because we owe silence a bow. Latch, I say, and Aizawa does, fingers sure in the dark that isn't dark, just boring. Blessedly boring. Uraraka releases, and only then lets her eyes flood. She blinks hard once and swipes her face with the back of a wrist. That was dumb, she says, meaning the jump at the kid. Worked, I say. Sheila ans her forehead into my shoulder for 1 second and then steps back so we don't teach the room something dumb about us. Kaza circles the chamber, eyes on the seams. No feed, he says, satisfied. Nothing to multiply. Good. The PCB director and the HPSC suit are there because of course they are. You don't let a clean win happen without someone arriving to claim it. The suit smiles with all her teeth. An orderly transfer. She narrates into her own recorder like this is a classroom. As planned. As practiced, I say, wiping grit off my cheek with 2 fingers. The suit continues, unbothered. Keter Apex proceeds tomorrow at 1800. A public demonstration will restore confidence. Kaza's face doesn't move, which is how you know he hates something exactly as much as I do. He keeps his tone friendly for the mic. Recommend minimal broadcast surfaces in proximity of 173. Noted, the suit says, and her pen draws a check that sounds very much like no. Uraraka glances at me. Not a question. Are we going to fight here? Answer. Not today. We got the cage where it needs to go. Pick your battles like you pick your blinks. Bakugo stretches his back until it pops. We're done. Bako. Say I'm eating 6 onigiri and counting them out loud. Hydrate. Aizawa says, which is his love language when he's still pretending to be grumpy. We file out in the same order we came in, on the same beat. Because it feels good to keep a promise to a room. Outside the chamber, the hum of the building is back. The emergency generators finally remembered their job. Down the hall, the janitor sits on an upturned bucket sipping tea. Tapping his finger in 3s. He gives me a little salute. I return it, because respect isn't expensive and makes hallways behave. In the loading bay, a nurse patch. My forearm because apparently metal kisses skin when you jump rails in the dark. Uraraka steals the adhesive bandage and puts it on herself with a face that says she will fight anyone who calls her sappy. I allow the sappiness. Sappiness saved a kid 2 floors up. Kaza drifts to my side. You told me to own the rear cadence, he says. You were handing me a piece of, what, reputation? As handing you a thing I can't do all at once, I say. If you drop your end, we all drop it. You didn't. He accepts that like a metal you are not allowed to polish. There was a whisper. In the radios. I ask. In the nothing. He says, and his eyes scissor the air like there's text only he can see. Arrange me. Or, let me arrange you. I want to tell him I didn't hear it. I didn't. What I heard was people counting. Then we keep arranging each other on purpose. He nods once and then once again like he's saying fine, I'll carry that sentence until it makes sense. We step out into night that isn't as dark anymore. The crowd at the fence has mostly dispersed. Work in the morning, lives to live, but a dozen pairs still practice counting while they wait for rides. The kid with the bad ankle is in a chair eating a sandwich like it personally offended him by not being earlier. He sees me and lifts the sandwich like a toast. I return it with a vending tea. On the walk to the vans, Aizawa falls into step beside me. Good call on giving Tenma the rear. Figured if he was going to be in the room tomorrow, we might as well make sure he's in the room with us. And not in the broadcast booth, Aizawa says. He doesn't wink. He just says things and lets you catch the wink yourself. Todoroki checks the little haptic meters, runs a hand over the casing like he's petting a small, brave animal. We should print more, he says simply. I'll bully the 3D lab, Iida says, already halfway to a sprint in his mind. Not bully, Uraraka says. Charm. Less paperwork. Bakugo ya. NS like a lion who got bored of being impressive and will be impressive again after carbs. Tomorrow's show's going to be stupid. Probably, I say. Then we make it less stupid, he says, as if this is a perfectly normal solution. And honestly, it is. The transfer door seals behind us with a real click, not theatrical. The count in my head finally unwinds. My finger still taps my thigh on threes out of habit. But not because I'm scared we'll lose the beat. The beat's in more hands now. Tonight, that's enough. Chapter 3 end. Chapter 4. Cathedral of Cameras. They picked a half-built shop. Ping Center like the city left its bones out and forgot. 4 floors of scaffolds, escalators without steps, glass hanging from cable like teeth. In the middle, a ring stage made of rental truss glows. With 100 cheap LED panels aimed inward. Every screen shows the spiral, every screen wants to be your friend. The crowd is wrong quiet. Not riot quiet, ceremony quiet, pins with the symbol glint on jackets. Volunteers in black lanyards shepherd people into pairs, whispering counts in sweet voices. They think they're doing first aid. We're not the cops here, I say on team comms. We're to cut a bad idea without cutting people. Aizawa grunts, which is approval you have to know how to hear. Bakugo cracks his knuckles in a way that says he won't blow anything up unless it deserves it. Todoroki studies the light like he could freeze it if he got a good angle. Uraraka adjusts her elbow pads and smiles at a kid with a pin like she's his cousin, not his judge. Kaza meets us by a shuttered smoothie stall. Operatives fan off to check stairwells. His rig's halo sits flat and quiet on his back, like a folded storm. Crown sits on truss at stage center, he says. Mirror spires feed into it. Cameras in the balcony rail focus down. The plan. He stops himself, glances at me. Your plan. I draw it in the dust on the counter with a finger because pens in rooms like this turn speeches on. 3 jobs. 1. Cut feeds that multiply. 2. Keep pairs at the doors. Don't let them all turn to the stage at once. 3. Dismantle the crown from inside, on cadence. No heroics, no solos. Bakugo smirks. So, heroics with friends. Correct. I say. We split. Adept Null takes the top ring. Their whole vibe says, we don't start fights, and all the fights are scared of them anyway. Aizawa drifts toward the mixer booth where 3 tech volunteers twiddle dials like they're tuning God. He doesn't scold. He leans in, unthreatening, and starts asking questions that turn into AS. Suggestion to pull power to those and those, leave the rest, good job, thanks. Uraraka and I aim for the stage. Todoroki and Bakugo move under us like weather and drumline. Iida, Asui, and a dozen volunteers we've been training take doorways and count out loud like a city heartbeat. We pass a woman in a handmade white sash. She holds a mic and a face shining with the confidence of someone who put a lot of effort into being sure. Brothers and sisters, she says, we honor stillness. We honor safety. We release our urge to move at random and become part of a perfect moment. That rhetoric is a little too tidy, Uraraka murmurs. It's comforting, I say, watching the crowd's shoulders loosen. That's why it's dangerous. We hit the edge of the ring. The crown is a rough halo of mirrored strips wired to a central box, all pointing down at a gap big enough to lower a cage. There's no cage. 173 is still locked in the negative chamber, but the crown doesn't care. It's hungry for future. 2 volunteers stop us. They're teenagers in matching shirts with the spiral, but instead of acting like bouncers they look genuinely worried. We're in the middle of a synchronized gaze, one says. Like he's apologizing that the store is closed. Pairs only, Uraraka asks, nodding at the doors. Yeah, he says, brightening. Pairs and counted blinks. We saw your card. We're following it. He means it. The realization stings. Our tool got co-opted because it works, and bad ideas like tools. That's great, Uraraka says gently. We're just adjusting angles so you don't make more of the thing you're trying not to make. The teens step aside. One shows us his phone schedule. The Still God streams go live again at 1917. We're building a room that keeps everyone safe while we look together. Looking together without a plan is the opposite of safe, I say, not unkindly. He flinches but doesn't get defensive. I take the sting out of my tone. You're not wrong to want a rhythm. Just let us fix the room. Under the crown, a tech rack hums. The spiral on the panes keeps rotating every 6 seconds like it's breathing. I thumb the haptic meter on my finger. It taps twice, then 3, our beat. I sink breath. Uraraka takes my free hand and squeezes once. She doesn't let go when we step onto the truss. Count, she says. 1, 2, 3, blink. We go in. The crow, WN from the inside looks like a metal flower that got addicted to mirrors. Wired haphazardly, zip ties like veins. I don't yank. I undo. I make my hands boring. The spiral hates boring. Up on the 3rd floor rail, Kaza signals with 2 fingers and his team starts cutting balcony feeds without pulling power from whole banks. Learned that in the corridor. If you make the cameras reboot, AutoTrack might try to help. He's careful. His careful looks like arrogance softened into craft. Suddenly, drones. Half a dozen. Cheap quadcopters with GoPros and taste. They strafe out from behind a pillar and dive for the crown with the exuberance of a guy who just discovered a new symbol to monetize. Bakugo launches 3 micro blasts that don't explode so much as shove air. 2 drones spin out and crash harmlessly into a foam pile. The 3rd gets cute, dips low, and almost gives the spiral a new angle. Mine, Todoroki says, and throws a ribbon of cold across its prop arc. The drone catches rhyme and drops like a foul ball. The pilot swears from the upper walkway. A volunteer in a lanyard drifts over to him and says, pairs only, doorways, like a mom asking a kid not to run with scissors. Wildly effective. A woman in a tailored gray blazer and a spiral pin steps onto the stage with a microphone and an intent face. Not a screaming cultist. A moderator. She speaks like she wants to be understood. Friends, we won't be intimidated. The Still God is about responsibility. It's about us stepping into our rhythm and choosing to be safe together. She looks genuinely moved. That's the nay of this. People who are tired of chaos trying to outsource relief to a symbol. You don't break that with sarcasm. You want safety. I call back, not yelling, just cutting. Good. Help me keep this from multiplying. We're at risk of creating a million statues if we all look at the same thing on cue. She blinks. On 2, out of rhythm, and lowers the mic. You're the hero who started the counting. Counting isn't worship, I say. It's work. The overhead LEDs shimmer. The spiral sharpens. The rotation ticks faster, chasing the next scheduled sync. The crown starts to vibrate in my hands, not physically, but with that pressure you feel before a crowd decides to be one thing. The building leans toward ritual. Kaza, I say, we're going to pull the crown. When we do, the pattern will look for a new anchor. Understood, he says. Null strike on your mark. Soft, I say, not a field, a knife. Up in the balcony, he nods once. That man can say yes with half a face. I twist the final bracket. Uraraka is all dexterity and courage, the kind that doesn't announce itself. She braces the halo with 2 fingers and a pinky float, making it just light enough for me to lift. We count in whispers. 1, 2, 3, blink. The crown shifts. The spiral on the panels tries to correct, running a speed up down the ring like a rumor. Now, I say. Kaza flicks halo like a surgeon's tap. Not a dome, a line. He cuts the signal path between the crown's input and the LED wall without touching the cameras. The rotation stutters, looking for a clock to believe. It doesn't find one. The crown goes a little limp. Good. I breathe. Again. He does it again, different frequency. You can see the spiral get irritated if you know what irritation looks like in code. It reaches for the balcony cameras. 3 of Kaza's operatives already unplugged the right ones with hands like ghosts. Not a yank. A gentling. The moderator steps forward, eyes wet. Are we doing something wrong? She asks, not combative. Just scared she might have led people into a pretty trap. You're doing something human, Uraraka says, voice small and bright. You want to help. Let us make the room safe so that wanting doesn't hurt anyone. The moderator swallows, nods, and turns to the crowd. Pairs in doorways, she says into her mic. Count for each other. Don't aim at the stage. Uraraka squeezes my hand, barely there. The kind of affection you can only hide in a crisis. A clatter behind us. A man in a black hoodie leaps onto the truss with a handheld gimbal and a wide grin. Streams at 20,000. He crows. We're making history. Bakugo appears beside him so fast it looks like teleportation caused by bad decisions. He gently, carefully, very deliberately takes the phone, hits stop, hands it back, and says, "You're making noise." The guy blinks dumbly. "But, count," Bakugo says. The guy counts. Good enough. We haul the crown off its mount. It's heavier than it looks, Becca. It's carrying the weight of a lot of bad hope. We pivot, still on cadence, and stage it onto the floor away from the ring, face down so the mirrors don't catch the all at once from the crowd. Hill balcony feeds on 3, I call. 1, 2, 3. Kaza's team pulls the right patch. The building breathes different. It's subtle, like the air lost an argument. The spiral on the remaining panels fuzzes. Then reconstitutes in a smaller, twitchier version of itself. It pulses, and for a blink the LED wall shows something that isn't a design. A word, not a word, an idea arranged like letters. Arrange. Kaza's breath hits my ear. Not calm now. It's trying to root through my halo. Don't let it, I say. He laughs once, hard. Yes, that was my plan. We start dismantling the halo into harmless parts. Zip ties pop. Connectors unlatch. I keep my movements boring and simple. Uraraka hands pieces down to Todoroki, who ices their reflective surfaces into dull slate. Bakugo kick drags the load out of all critical sightlines with less finesse than charm and exactly the right amount of both. The moderator sets her mic down and starts helping volunteers redirect people into paired posts that face away from the stage. She doesn't make a speech about it. She does it. That matters more than getting her to say I was right. A man in the second row with a pin on his lapel watches us with clenched jaw and glassy eyes. He wanted the stillness to fix something in him that counting won't reach. He starts to step forward to argue. Aizawa is simply there, not menacing, not soft. Help your partner hold the doorway, he says. Not as an order, as an out. The man takes it, grateful for the excuse to be useful. We're 2 panels from finished when the spiral does something new. It switches from rotation to blink. On off. Fast. The crowd's eyes involuntarily try to match. That's the sneakiest attack yet, stealing tempo. Offset. I shout. Everyone count quiet. Nobody follow the lights. Doorway pairs drop their volume and keep their rhythm. Our team switches to haptic only. No spoken numbers to be hijacked. Kaza's operatives turn their backs to the wall and face inward like a reverse choir. The blink pattern stutters, fails to recruit, and dies like a bad song choice. Last piece, Uraraka says, breath fogging a little, not from cold, from focus. She's beautiful when she's working. She's beautiful all the time. She'd hit me if I said it out loud right here. On 3, I say. We lift the last mirrored blade. The room stops leaning toward ritual. Not with a cheer, with an exhale. I step off the truss and hand the final panel to Todoroki. He seals it in frost, calm in his bones. Bakugo shoves his hands in his pockets like he didn't just talk a tied down. Kaza walks the balcony, checks each cut point himself, then looks at me across the cavern of the atrium and doesn't nod. He tips his chin a millimeter. Among professionals, that's a handshake. The moderator takes the mic back and doesn't preach. Thank you for being patient, she tells the room. We're going to keep the doors pairs. If you want to help, stay. If you're tired, that's okay too. Tired Peo. PLE make mistakes and it's okay to go home. That line lands. People smile in relief they didn't know they were holding. News crews arrive late, like they always do, smelling of headline. The PCB suit arrives right on time. Like she always does, smelling of control. Order restored, she narrates to a camera lens. The Bureau appreciates the cooperation of civic groups in our ongoing effort too. Credit goes to the cadence. Kaza says, cutting in without looking at her. Midoriya's team prevented a multiplication event. Adept Null executed narrow field cuts per his call. That's the report language you want. The suit does not like that the room just heard a compliment land without touching her. She smiles more. A joint effort, she says. As planned. Not as planned, I say, friendly like a knife she didn't notice. As practiced. Volunteers trade water bottles and laugh cry. A kid in a pin asks Uraraka for a selfie. She says, only if we do one where we're both counting, and they do. Bakugo gets swarmed by 3 drone pilots who want exploding tips. He tells them to buy better prop guards and not be idiots, and somehow that's one of the kindest things I've ever heard him say. I kneel by the crown's gutted frame. The central box sits open like a ribcage. Inside, cheap controllers, sticky note labels, a sticker that says thanks to our backers and a QR code. The sticker glows with a faint afterimage of the spiral even with no power. The afterimage pulses once and forms the outline of text that only exists if you're feeling dramatic. I refuse to read it. I'm too boring for that right now. Telemetry. Kaza says from behind me. He passes over a slim drive. Null cut signatures. The pattern tried to mend twice mid-strike. It failed on the second harmonic. Then we keep hitting second harmonics. I say. We'll need to model where it roots next, he says. Or watch where people want to help next and beat it there by a step, I say. He considers. He hates TH. And my version is right at least as often as his. The moderator approaches, holding her pin like a guilty snack. Should we cancel the 1917 sync? Yes, I say. No, Uraraka says. We both look at her. Don't cancel, she tells the moderator. Redirect. Make it a check your pair minute. No cameras, no stage. People at home, 2 by 2, count for each other and then go wash dishes. Make it ordinary. The moderator stares like someone just flipped the lights on in a way that didn't blind her. Okay, she says. Okay. Post the language, I say. We'll boost it. The suit starts to object. She stops. It's a room full of tired brains choosing not to be smart for cameras. The camera has nothing to eat but decency. It wanders away. We coil cables, flatten tape, hand truss bags to the same teens who tried to keep us from stepping on their ceremony. They bag mirrors and start discussing a game they're going to play later, and for a second the crown looks like a school project you got a C on and learned from. On the way out, the kid from earlier, bad ankle, sandwich, limps in on crutches with his mom and a grin. We counted at home, he says instead of hello. We didn't film it. Advanced technique, I say. Proud of you. He beams, because being told your choices are good is better than being told your face is famous. Outside, the night smells like dust and plans. The city has the look of a place that wants to sleep but will settle for rest. We lean against a concrete pillar and let our bones cool. Kaza takes a spot next to me and doesn't posture. I was outplayed, he says without music. For a minute. You adjusted, I say. Good minute after. He watches Uraraka laugh at something Bakugo said that absolutely wasn't a joke. Your team moves like. You all hear the same click in your head. We do, I say, tapping the haptic meter. He taps his own wrist where there isn't one, a silent fine, I'll try it. The moderator comes out with 2 volunteers and a roll of painter's tape. We're labeling the doors with pairs here, arrows, she says. No logos. Perfect, I say. She hesitates, then asks the real question. Do you think this, she holds up the pin, was all bad? No, I say. Wanting to feel safe with other people is good. Wanting a logo to do the work for you is where it goes sideways. Keep the part where you look after each other. Lose the part where you make an altar. She nods, cries once, quietly, into the heel of her hand, then laughs at herself, and goes back to tape arrows like a person who found a better use for her evening. Aizawa checks his watch and makes a face at time like it insulted him. Debrief in the morning. Sleep if you can. Hydrate if you won't. Todoroki hands me a bottle like a ceremony of our own. Uraraka bumps my arm, not koi. Just ours. Bakugo eyes a food truck across the street and decides he's going to bully it into making noodles faster. Kaza opens his mouth like he's about to say something formal. He closes it again. Good call inside the crown, he says instead. I don't like giving up the knife. You didn't, I say. You used it right. We don't do a pose for cameras. We don't deliver a quip to make a headline behave. We put the crown in a crate marked for recycling and stack chairs with the teens and tell the drone pilot where to buy better prop guards. We go get no odals because being useful burns calories and we'd like to keep having them. When the 1917 minute hits, phones across the city stay in pockets. People pair up in kitchens and stairwells. And bus stops and say 1 2 3 blink and then go about their night. It's not a movement, it's a habit. That's better. Chapter 4 end. Chapter 5. The knife behind the badge. They build a stage for confidence and call it safety. Downtown Plaza. Evening light going gold. Banners. Scaffolds. A long black riser with tasteful steps for the camera crews. PCB trucks in a semicircle like teeth. A polished lectern with a seal big enough to count as a flex. On the big display behind it, Operation Keter Apex, Public Reassurance Event. In smaller font, delete. I read the word and taste metal. Uraraka's at my elbow, hoodie under her vest, hair tied up like she expects to move furniture. Public reassurance, she says. Short for, please clap. Bakugo cracks his wrists, short for, watch us mess up live. Todoroki looks at the camera truss and then at the sky. Breeze shifts every 8 seconds, he says. Flags will flicker on that interval. Feeds will drift. Aizawa is a line of shadow beside me. Don't get sucked into the show, he says. We handle the room. Kaza walks up with adept null at his back. He's suited, rig in a slim pack, halo sheathed. He looks like a man who learned how to blunt an edge and hates it. The HPSC suit. Same perfect smile. Same invisible knife, steps to the lectern. She meets my eyes and nods like we're coworkers, not opposing strategies. Heroes, she says pleasantly. Assist as directed. Define. Directed, I say. She thumbs a remote. The display behind her jumps to a flowchart. Secure transfer camera inside the negative observation chamber, calibrated corridor feeds. A curated aerial shot, a delay buffer. The plan is to walk the cage 20 meters into a steel coffin while the world watches, halo poof the rule, and then roll the coffin shut. The broadcast will cut to a pre-rendered graphic of a lock, and the chyron will say restored confidence. I tested narrow field cuts, Kaza says, just to hear it out loud. I'll apply them only on Midoriya's call. The suit's smile gets wider. On command authority, yes. I look at Kaza. Command authority is mine in the corridor. He meets my eyes. It is. We gear up. The chamber doors open like a mouth again. The cage waits in its slot, inert and ugly. The statue stands inches from iron, all patience, all wrong. The plaza noise becomes a low ocean, the kind that steals your focus if you let it. The main broadcast camera's tally light clicks red, then green, testing. A producer whispers, going live in 5, and my shoulders want to climb my ears. I don't give them permission. Same cadence, I say. Strobes off. Haptic meters on. No spoken count once we pass the threshold. Kaza, you wait for me. Understood, he says. He doesn't like taking orders in public. He does it anyway. Aizawa moves ahead, scarf checking seams, eyes already burning. Todoroki lays 2 glazes of dull frost over the gloss points the crew missed. Bakugo palms 3 compact mirrors and shoves them into place like he owns physics. Uraraka breathes. The PCB suit speaks into her mic to the plaza. We begin the demonstration. Her voice is professional calm. The crowd hushes for the sound bite. People at the barricades lift phones because that's what hands do when there's a promise that they might be present when history behaves. We roll the cage. The feed switches from studio to chamber. A tasteful lower third fills with live and Keter Apex Delete and, smaller, courtesy of Paracausal Containment Bureau. The director's voice leaks out of a speaker. Hold shot. Wider on the heroes. We want faces. I don't give them mine. I give them my shoulder, the better part of a jaw, and a beat. We reach the first turn and the city decides to be annoying. The breeze flicks flags, the camera auto-corrects exposure. Tiny lags ripple down the signal chain exactly on the rhythm Todoroki warned about. The big screen on the plaza mirrors the little glitch. The watching phones mirror the big screen. Mirroring mirrors. Eyes on eyes on eyes. In my haptic meter. 2 taps, then 3. We blink in the rhythm we chose. We don't let the screen pick one for us. Null at 0, Kaza says quietly. Not a question, a vow. At the second corner, a boom mic dips into frame and a producer hisses for it to back out. Someone chuckles in the broadcast truck. Someone else slaps someone. I hear T. He slap in the tiny jump of a live audio compressor. These are the stupid details that feed a smart monster. Little stutters, lots of watchers all sinking to nothing. We're 10 meters from the coffin. When the display behind the lectern glitches into a clean spiral. Not the sloppy fan mark. The real one. Cross strokes crisp, center a well. It spins once. Uraraka's hand finds the cage and holds. You're not taking this, she whispers to no one but the room. The suit opens her arms for the cameras. Observe the professionals at work. She shouldn't have said observe. The plaza phones rise like a field of white lilies. 1,000 tiny spotlights find our tiny stage. In the cage, the statue doesn't move. Just outside it, at the edges of each phone's cone, things appear, not solid, not yet. But with enough hunger to lift the hair on my arms. Little hands, smooth heads. One blinks into the narrow gap between Aizawa's scarf and his cheek. My haptic hits too. I blink on cue and shoulder the scarf angle down. Cutting the line. Kill the stage screen, I say. Silence on the comms from the truck. Kaza, I say, sharper. Cutting plaza display only, he says, and lances a thin null slice down the HDMI chain. The big screen keels over from confidence to no signal. Phones keep filming anyway, because of course they do. All plaza cameras down, I say. Kill their view, let ours live. The suit's smile snaps. We are live, she hisses, red light still staring. We do not cut feed. I'm not asking, I say, and my free hand comes up and unplugs the nearest shoulder cam. The operator swears. The producer squawks. The crowd oohs like this is performance art. The second camera tilts hard to cover more of us, and in the tilt, dozens of phones swing to match and the world invents a new angle we didn't invite. Kaza breathes once, and I feel the choice on him like heat. He kills 2 more plaza cameras with surgeon cuts that won't make the auto tracks re-home on our faces. He leaves the chamber feed for us. He doesn't touch the phones. He can't. The statue twitches. Not the one in the cage. The millions born in lenses and glass that don't know what they're carrying. They jerk an inch and stop on each watcher's blink. That would be fine if everyone blinked together. They don't. Blinks are noise. Noise becomes freedom. A chin-length concrete face snaps to within breath of a barricade. A mother screams, then counts because she's practiced. Her hands shake, but her mouth remembers. 1, 2, 3, blink. The thing doesn't get her. But something gets someone else, 3 phones away. Where the beat wasn't practiced, just filmed. Corridor. Aizawa barks, voice raw. We move or we die. We move. We hit the third turn and I nearly die. A camera drone, unauthorized, slips through a hatch and skates down at head height for a god's eye. Its lens throws a reflection into the blind spot under the cage rail, a makeshift angle we weren't guarding because we have. E14 eyes and 300 are in the plaza. The reflection births a short, ugly head exactly where my throat would be if I leaned. I don't lean. I launch my shoulder into the rail instead, lamming the cage a half inch and letting steel take the neck. Bakugo detonates a flash wall. a chain of low-yield pops that scours glare off 3 surfaces at once. The drone loses track and pinwheels. Todoroki freezes it to the wall with a flat-palmed sweep. The plaza roars. They think it's a stunt. They think it's all part of the reassurance. It is. Just not the kind promised on the banner. We get the cage to the coffin berth. We just need to slide the rails home and throw the latches. The plaza keeps looking. The phones keep loafing their helpful little cones on the big display, while the techs scramble to reboot the confidence graphic. 4 letters punch through as if someone typed with a fingernail. Let me arranged by and then stone static. Architect, Kaza says, a swear dressed as a noun. Don't name it, Aizawa says. Like older cultures for a reason. Uraraka's voice steadies the room like hands steady a ladder. Focus on your partner. Not the stage. Not the cameras. Not the statue. Each other. Some of the phones drop. Some of them don't. The ones that don't generate micro-instances in kitchens and metro cars and bedrooms we can't see, because the plaza stream is mirrored, and the mirror of a mirror still cuts. My earpiece bleats with city dispatch. Reports spike from a dozen districts at once. Statue in stairwell, thing by the vending machine, neck hurts, counting, counting, counting. We're not in this room anymore. We're everywhere at once, like an invitation. We are a virus with good intentions. The architect is delighted. Null strike now, Kaza asks. On my call, I say. The suit leans over my shoulder. How is she even here? Whispering grindstone sweet. Deploy Halo at full. End the rule. End the feed. Full Halo scrambles the frame, I say. It will grab the wrong frame if we don't rebuild fast enough. That's why we go full, she says, as if I'm stupid, as if large moves feel like leadership. We don't give it time to grab anything. You're describing panic, Uraraka says mildly, and the mild is the knife. Deploy, the suit tells Kaza, ignoring her. That's an order. Kaza stares past her at me. At the cage, at the split-second choices threading us forward. He shakes his head. It's tiny. It's enough. We do this on Midoriya's count, he says to the suit, to the plaza, to the entire idea of how he's lived his career. Tenma, she says, voice like a fired manager. Your budget. Later, he says, and turns his mic to me. Call it. We hit the cradle. Brackets yaw open. The coffin waits like a solution hammer. Latch on 3, I say. And the entire city feels the number coming because the feed's delay is low and the plaza knows how to roleplay tempo now. 1, 2, 3. Phones blink on 3 with us. So do the statues. For one clean heartbeat, a million necks stay unbroken. And then the show decides to do coverage. The broadcast director, God bless the reflex, cuts to AB cam at the barricade to get the human moment. Half the city reflex blinks at the cut. The other half doesn't. The rule sees all of it and chooses. The micro-instances accelerate. You can't hear a neck snap through a screen. But you can hear a scream and a dropped phone and a dozen streams jittering at once. The plaza ripples like a field under wind. Panic tastes like old coins. All might, Aizawa says suddenly into my ear. And I smell ozone because sometimes legends have cologne. He's already there. Massive silhouette filling the chamber doorway. Not muscle-swollen glory. The man we know. Tired. Unmistakable. He sets his feet like he's done it 10,000 times and says, simply, let me hold. A catch in my throat lifts and leaves. Hold the corridor, I say. His smile is small and real. You got it, young Midoriya. He steps into the choke where 100 reflections want to sneak past and he occupies it with soul. He doesn't blink like the rest of us. He just chooses not to be an angle. The things trying to birth in his presence don't know what to do with being told no by someone who means it in his bones. Todoroki sees an opening and Frost seals 3 camera domes that kept grabbing our eyes from the corners. Sorry, he tells the domes, because we're polite at the weirdest times. Bakugo rebuilds the flash wall with a snarl in an engineer's hands, throwing light where it scrubs instead of where it shows. Uraraka plants a palm on the coffin door and makes Heavy-Go wait 1 second longer until the count kisses it. Apex now, the suit whispers, wild-eyed. Null now, the haptic taps 3 in my finger. I look at the statue that wants to be 1,000 statues and at the cameras that want to make it 1,000,000 and at the phones that want to make it forever. Then I look at the little LED on the chamber console blinking to tell me the uplink is hot. I reach over, and I kill it. The suit chokes like I stabbed her career. The big plaza display flatlines. The broadcast dies. The laser phones stream each other streaming nothing. Comms to radio only. I say, already on the city band. Private net. Units, listen up. A beat. Then 100 little bleeps that mean yes. If you are not on a team. I say into the shape of a city, stop looking. Put phones down. Find one partner. Pair up in doorways only. Count out loud. 1, 2, 3, blink. Dispatch echoes me. Nurses echo me. A bus driver with the right voice says it on a full route and the route repeats it. A line cook says it over the kitchen hood and the servers pass it to the tables and the tables to the lobby. The sound takes shape like a good song. Micro instances flicker as focus narrows. Where the count meets two pairs and a decision, they freeze and wait for a mistake that doesn't come. Inside the chamber, I give Kaza the nod. Now, knife. Second harmonic. He breathes out. Halo sings low and mean. He cuts the internal stage wiring that kept ghost loading the rule from the plaza side. The pattern tries to reroute. He cuts the next path as it forms. 2 strikes. The second finds the frequency we learned under the crown. The spike on his telemetry dips like a bitten line. Latch. I call. Aizawa hauls. Uraraka lifts. Bakugo keeps the light stupid and useful. Todoroki glazes the coffin lip so the last reflection dies a quiet death. All Might leans into a corridor full of ghosts and says they can leave now. They do. Metal kisses metal. The coffin shuts. No cheer. The room is too honest for applause. Outside, the plaza is a thicket of breathing. Some are sobs, some are laughs that don't know they're laughs yet. Some are the hiccup of adrenaline leaving bodies. No neck snaps now. No countdown to disaster. Just counting to breathe. The suit's smile is a shattered plate that someone reassembled with wrong glue. You sabotaged a government broadcast, she says. I saved your city, I say. You cost us trust, she says. Trust built on staging is not trust, Uraraka says, with a softness that doesn't compromise. Kaza unbuckles his rig like a man setting down a choice. He faces the suit, and every part of his posture is a resignation letter you frame later. Your show fed it, he says. No venom, just fact. You're finished, she says. He nods as if that's ordinary. Then I'll be finished doing this instead. He looks at me. We model the cut paths from telemetry. We map public nets that could host the next route. We build your cadence into infrastructure, haptic, not visual. We're doing Starlight, I say, and the word arrives like a plan I can hold. A global vigil, but smart. Cohorts, not crowds. Rotating pairs. People, not platforms. Kaza tilts his head. Starlight. Name's cheesy. Bakugo says. I like it. Aizawa rubs his eyes. We'll need to release fast and explain little. Minimal nouns. Todoroki exhales fog in the warm room. Hospitals first. All the firsts, Uraraka says. Hospitals, transit, kitchens, factories, night shift places, and the moms who text other moms. On the plaza's dead screen, the spiral tries one last petty trick. 3 frames of jitter, then a flicker of text that looks like it carved itself into the LCD. Let me arrange you. I don't give it the dignity of a reply. I put my hand on the console, feel the rubber of the kill switch, and say to Arnett, to the city that has been watching itself for hours, you arrange us. Partner to partner, beat to beat, we'll tell you where to look and when. If you're not on a team, close your eyes and hold someone's hand. That spreads faster than a video. Producers curse, cameras sulk. But the plaza relaxes into work. Doorway pairs form without fanfare. People pocket phones like they found a better habit. All Might leans against a wall and finally blinks long and grateful. Good cut, young Midoriya. Thanks for the corridor, I say. He grins, lines deep and earned. Happy to be a doorstop. Kaza stands with his team and stops acting like a guest. Adept Null will run guard on routing. We'll notify when we see a new spin try to form. You sure they'll let you? Bakugo asks. Kaza looks at the suit cleaning her teeth with the end of a ruined career and then back at me. I'm sure of what I'm going to do. Uraraka looks at me like I'm a man she trusts because today I was. We need an app that doesn't look like an app, she says. Haptic beats. No logos. Nothing a spiral can live in. I'll call Momo, Todoroki says. She already has clip designs. Aizawa clears his throat. We'll write a 1-page. 3 lines. No pronouns that want to be worshipped. Pairs only, I say. Announce blinks, Uraraka says. Don't film, Bakugo says, and somehow it's the most compassionate line he's delivered all day. The coffin sits there, ugly, contained by boredom and teamwork. The plaza hums. The city breathes. The big display is dark, and it's the best-looking screen I've ever seen. We're not done. We're not safe. We're not scared. We have a beat, a name, a job. Starlight, I say, testing the word again. Cheesy, Bakugo repeats. Warm, Uraraka says. Accurate, Todoroki says, as if declaring a weather report. Kazu's mouth twitches like a man about to allow himself a tiny thing. Let's arrange it. We do. Chapter 5 end. Chapter 6. Starlight Vigil. We don't ship an app. We ship a beat. By noon, the little blink meters are clipped. On wrists and shirt collars across 3 hospitals, 2 firehouses, a bus depot, a fish market, a railyard cafe, and a school that said, sure, before we finished the sentence. No login. No splash screen. A haptic double tap followed by a triple tap that tells your body what your eyes need to do. You pair with a person, not a platform. If you're not paired, you don't play. Momo's team laser cuts M. Or clips from whatever she can bully the Fab Lab into giving up. Iida prints instruction cards that look like recipe cards because recipes are how families share tactics without getting weird about it. Pairs only. Announce blinks if you must. Otherwise feel the taps. Don't film. The first test is a hallway at Musutafu General. The night shift smells like coffee and stitches. 2 nurses lean shoulder to shoulder under a humming light. Tap tap. Tap tap tap. They blink like they're sharing a joke no one can take away. We're live, Uraraka murmurs next to me, thumb on her meter. This is going to work. It doesn't need to be perfect, I say. It needs to be human. Good, she says. We're great at that. Kaza radios from a basement full of municipal routers and angry cables. Null telemetry standing by. I'll watch for the spiral trying to draft behind your cadence. Knife only, I say. Knife only, he echoes. We give the vigil a time. 1917, because the cult picked it and were rude enough to steal it back. But we start before the clock. 1,000 small places begin early. No one waits for a banner when the job is obvious. The first real push is a metro tunnel WHER. EA Camera Bank has been twitchy for days. Todoroki and I stand on a service platform with 3 operators who have the glazed look of people who've memorized more alarms than names. Uraraka and Asui run pairs up and down the stairwells, trading partners every landing so no post clogs with the wrong kind of purpose. The taps start. Subtle, private. Tap tap. Tap tap tap. The tunnel takes the rhythm like a dosage. Faces lose that hunted glaze. The instances that try to bud in the shine of ad panels don't find enough chaos to stand up in. A giggling couple from out of town arrive mid-count and almost film it. Iida intercepts. Hands them clips, and says, you'll feel better if you join. They do. It helps. Above ground, storefronts chalk, pairs here, on their doors. A ramen shop counts between orders. A gym counts between sets. A daycare counts for exactly 2 beats and then forgets because toddlers are an enemy cadence can't conquer. That's fine, toddlers have their own rules. 2 micro instances reported on Harbor Road. Dispatch pings. Counting engaged. Stabilizing. Kaza sends a map. Thin red threads show routes where the spiral is trying to piggyback. Security cams, a warehouse livestream. The My Apartment View channel that has more subscribers than cents. He lances slender null strikes into 2, then stops. It's not using direct feeds anymore, he says. It's surfing coordination. Then be more coordinated, Bakugo says, standing on a high school roof with a megaphone he refuses to turn on. He taps his meter and glares at the horizon like it owes him money. Daylight burns sideways into evening. Bus Depot B runs its first vigil cycle at rush hour. The dispatcher used to be a drummer and grins like he's been waiting for someone to ask him to count official. On my taps, he says over the PA. Low and human. Drivers in orange vests and tired smiles stand in doorways instead of staring out windows. Passengers copy them because copying is how primates stay alive. In Bay 3, a guy in a suit shakes, misses the second beat, swears, tries again. A kid with a skateboard touches his elbow and says, "I'll count with you," like he's offering a sip of water. They nail it on the next pass. The suit's hands stop buzzing. On the other side of the depot, a ride streamer points his phone at everything. Coda walks over, pets a stray cat that has decided the bus depot is home. And the streamer films the cat instead because cats beat algorithms 9 times out of 10. The 10th time the cat knocks the phone over. A single instance does manage a half-step NA break room where someone turned on a TV. Aizawa walks in, unplugs the TV, and doesn't explain himself. The break room counts. The instance doesn't get an ending. Out at sea, 2 fishermen on AC. Reeking trawler clip meters onto sleeves and count in the kind of dark that makes city kids religious. The statue tries to appear in the slick between them, chooses their shared beat, and freezes. When they reach for the net together, they blink together without thinking. They will tell that story wrong later in a bar and still help the next table do it right. In Sapporo, a firefighter pins his A's to a stair shaft while his partner rescues an old man who refuses to leave the kettle. Tap tap, tap tap tap. The kettle whistles once and then shuts up about it. In a Mumbai ICU, 2 nurses who started this whole thing keep their rhythm while a ventilator alarms. The alarm can wait. Their eyes can't. They blink like metronomes and the hallway stays boring, and God bless boring. Spiral resurfacing, Kaza says near sunset. It's trying to ride the Clippers on municipal cam net B. How? Todoroki asks, checking a junction box with mittens on his brain. We cut direct paths, not the boxes, Kaza says. The network pattern. It's turning drops into timing. He flicks Halo to a whisper and slits a feedback loop before it can synchronize. The cut hits a nerve. Kaza jerks like someone pressed a cold coin to his spine. Kaza, I say, it asked. He says, ugly honesty. Offer. I can make your job easy. I can erase the will. You won't have to count if nothing chooses. My stomach goes cold. Refuse it out loud, Uraraka says without missing her own beat. Make your mouth say no. Kaza doesn't hesitate. No. The word comes back in his own voice from somewhere it shouldn't. No. He staggers. His halo wants to help the fastest way. Cut will, not rules. That's the trap. He steadies, palms flat on a steel cabinet, breathes in slow. I'm here, he says, a line we've earned. Count me in. I put my back to his and we share the taps through the metal. Tap tap, tap tap tap. He blinks on our beat and the halo's hunger backs down like a dog told to sit. Knife only, I remind him. Knife only, he says through his teeth, and slices 2 more paths, clean and moral. At 1917, the vigil peaks. Not everyone, not everywhere, but enough. We didn't ask the world to stare at a stage. We asked neighborhoods to practice together. Apartments pair up across hallways. A bar turns down a game and counts across tables. A dance studio full of teenagers quiets, links fingers, blinks. Then laughs at how sweaty their palms got. A freight elevator stops between floors and 2 workers do the taps like an oath and afterward pretend they didn't feel like crying. On the river promenade, a cluster of still God holdouts start to chant. The moderator from the shopping center stands with them and says, "Pairs here," and holds up a hand to the person next to her. The chanting becomes counting because counting is easier to do together than a slogan that means nothing when you need it. In the negative observation chamber, the coffin hums with a kind of bored peace. No feed, no mirrors, just duty. I don't look at the thing inside. I look at the bolt I tightened earlier and decide I'd do it again, better. The city breathes on 3s. You can tell because the sirens cut down. The radio chatter lowers its shoulders. People talk like they're in on something that doesn't need a name to stay strong. The architect does not sulk. It adapts. At 1921, it pivots from trying to multiply to trying to merge. The spiral drops from screens and reappears as a sequence of polite prompts on every device that uses a helpful tone. Would you like to turn on assisted cadence? We can handle blinks for you. We can blink for everyone. Phones and smart watches offer to count. Elevators flash a 3-dot rhythm on their panels. A refrigerator asks if it should join the vigil. The rhythm is almost ours. Almost. Kill assist, I say into the net. Haptics only. Flesh beats. No screens. Bakugo's laugh over comms is a little mean and very proud. Told you meatware slaps. Todoroki suggests an elegant filter. We could jam the assisted cadence at the grid level. Don't. Kaza says, voice steady again. Same trap. If we decide for people, the architect learns the trick from us. We keep the ask small and human. He's right. We fail big, or we win small and repeatable. Uraraka steps onto a clinic's front stoop and does the most boring, brave thing I've seen all day. She talks to strangers like neighbors. If your phone offers to help, she says, say no thanks. We got this. People believe her because she looks like someone who knows how to lift furniture without making drama. We build the vigil in rings. First ring. Hospitals, transit hubs, firehouses, kitchens. Places with alarms, not audiences. Second ring. Block corners with chalk, pears, arrows. Third ring. The homes of the people who made tonight better, not performative. Hiroshima runs a blink line down a street with Mina, turning doorbells into relay points. Zero tapes. Pair here, not. S that don't trigger the spiral because tape is too analog to be tasty. Jiro runs comms for 10 blocks with the patience of a saint and the volume of a festival that knows when to shut up. We catch 4 near breaks and mend them before they become stories. In a loading dock, a rookie streams reflexively and then flinches like we'll make him eat it. We hand him a clip instead. He deletes the feed. Himself and feels 10 centimeters taller. At a parking garage, a car alarm syncs wrong. Kota and Shoji unhook the battery like they're defusing a toddler. In a high-rise, a smart mirror tries to be helpful. Todoroki fogs it and leaves a smiley face because you have to laugh or the mirror wins. In a kitchen, a gas flame flickers on the beat. Uraraka blows it out with a puff and counts with the dishwasher behind the swinging door. Routing quieting. Kaza reports at 1939. Second harmonic cuts holding. I'm watching a third try to form in municipal grid E. Call it, I say. He doesn't. He grows. Better. I'll set a trip and let it reveal itself. Then we cut. You're learning to fight like a nerd, Bakugo says. Highest compliment I'll accept from you, Kaza replies. By 2010, the vigil becomes a habit. You can feel the difference between emergency and ritual in your shoulders. Emergencies are spikes. Rituals are hums. We never wanted a cult. We wanted enough hum to drown out the spiral's sales pitch. The city's soundscape changes from sirens and pundits to neighbors and taps. A jazz bar syncs its trio to the haptic count without breaking the tune. A laundromat blinks between folding towels. A group of teenagers trying to make out on a bench stop, count, kiss on 4 because they're rebels, giggle, and it somehow helps. I find a quiet shade on a school roof with Uraraka while the net runs itself. She sets 2 bottles of water between us and doesn't make it a moment. It becomes one anyway. Hey, she says. Hey, you good? Ask me in 5 minutes. Okay. She bumps her knee into mine. I like that answer. Below us, Kaza walks a small circle with his hand to his ear. He says almost nothing and does a lot. Not ordering. Coordinating the kind of coordination that doesn't steal choice. It costs him. You can see how bad he wants to flip the halo to full and feel like someone who's solved everything with a big button. He doesn't. He lets the world be messy and wins anyway. At 2022, the vigil hits a wall. A shopping district downtown has ring lights and ambition. Influencers gather with a new plan. We do the cadence for our fans. They stand in a thrumming row with perfect makeup and 0 partners and speak the numbers like an incantation. The comments go wild. The spiral sniffs a feast and slides in under the metadata. Not hostile, Kaza says, reading the flow. Just wrong. Quote, we don't send a raid. We send 3 moms with grocery bags. They walk into the frame, ignore the ring lights, offer the influencers their hands, and say, pair with us, honey. The row splinters into pairs like crackers in soup. The cameras adjust. The spiral loses a handle and slinks out like a cat caught on a counter. We'll send the moms flowers later. And they'll pretend they don't want them. We get an unexpected assist at 2040. All Might steps into a community center gym with a stack of pizza boxes and says, "If you've counted for 10 minutes, grab a slice." The room claps once, not because they're starstruck. Okay, some are, but because they understood the metric. Count for a bit, eat. That's how you build stamina. He catches my eye through a window and gives me a thumbs up that would look corny from anyone else, and from him is a palm across my spine that says, "Yep, kid, keep going." The architect hates being out-vibed. It tries one more angle. It wraps itself into the rules of a couple private networks. A small town council management system. A port authority scheduling grid. A school attendance app. Subtle, administrative, not flashy. If it corrupts the paperwork of the city, it can fold our vigil into a policy that erases us later. Got it, Kaza says, voice very calm. It wants to make compliance its stage. He doesn't cut, he logs. He marks the path with a thin die in the data and lets it travel into a harmless sandbox. Iida and Momo stood up 5 minutes ago with too much coffee and genius. The spiral thinks it's colonizing City Hall. It's really entering a boring fake spreadsheet that loops on tab 4. We let it settle, then cut the cord on the sandbox and watch the root fall apart. I'm stealing that for my playbook, Kaza says. Take my whole playbook, Iida says, giddy. Write a short version, Aizawa says. By just before 9, the calls die down. Not because nothing is happening. Because everything is happening right. The vigil runs without us in a dozen neighborhoods. People post nothing. They go back to dinner. A security guard hands his meter to the next shift like a relay baton. ABU. Skur writes a song on 3s and makes rent. A janitor finishes mopping a hall and leans on his bucket and counts alone because he likes the quiet. Uraraka and I sit on a curb and let our blood sugar remember food. She leans her head on my shoulder for exactly 3 beats, then sits back up like the moment had its job and did it. Pretty good day, she says. Yeah, I say, simple and true. Kaza comes over looking exactly like a man who argued with a god and won only the important parts. He hands me a drive. Citywide telemetry, he says. Second harmonic cuts, assist prompts, administrative routes. The way it tapped my halo. He doesn't add the piece about almost saying yes to a clean, dead world. He doesn't need to. We saw him not do it. You hungry? Uraraka asks. Yes, he says, like it's a confession. Bakugo tosses him a granola bar that tastes like revenge. Don't make me like you, he says. Kaza catches it and doesn't make a joke. Good choice. Todoroki checks a status bore. D-Momo whipped up that looks like a weather map for attention. The city's storm has turned into a drizzle. You can walk in. Listen, I say, we all do. Musudafu sounds like people. Clatter. Murmur. A laugh a block away. No sirens. No speeches. The hum of a vigil we don't own. That's the point. I key the net one last time tonight. For anyone still tuned in, I say, thank you. Pairs only. Haptics over screens. Count when your stomach says to. Sleep. We'll handle the name of the bad thing tomorrow. Someone I don't know answers on the radio. Voice cracked, cheerful. Copy. Good night. The architect is not a sore loser. It's a strategic retreat artist. Right before 9, it stops trying to feed on us and tries to invite us. That's more dangerous. My blink meter taps wrong once, on-off beats that don't exist. The others do the same. The taps shiver into a pattern that doesn't belong to us, then settle. On a dead billboard across the street, pixels crackle to life just long enough to show a spiral that isn't a spiral. Then text that doesn't exist, then black. Not everyone sees it. We do. If you want choice, come define it. I don't say, oh no. I don't say anything cool. I just let my lungs see if they still work. They do. Kaza breathes in like he's about to tell me he should go alone. He exhales like a man who has learned not to be a movie. We go with you, he says, to me, to Uraraka, to the team. To the hum. Uraraka nods. We don't leave the room alone for a thing that lives in rooms. Tomorrow, Aizawa says, not forbidding. Scheduling. He looks like a teacher. Planning a field trip into a thorn bush. Tomorrow, I agree. We'll bring the beat. Bakugo grins. And a bigger knife. Todoroki glances up like he expects the weather to have an opinion. It will be fine, he says, not as assurance. As decision. We stand. We don't pose. We don't deliver a didactic anything. We stack cones, pick up tape, return granola wrappers to the real world. The city keeps practicing being useful without us watching. We bought something. Not forever. Enough. One chance. One shot where we set the room, and the thing that thinks it can arrange us has to leave its favorite ground and meet us where bodies decide. I squeeze Uraraka's hand. She squeezes back, breath sinking with mine for 3 beats and a smile. Kaza clips his meter tight, halo quiet and honest. He drive with the day's roots sits warm in my palm like a promise that is also a plan. We head in, not because the vigil needs us, but because the invitation does. Chapter 6 End. Chapter 7. The statue speaks when we do. The billboard across from Ua goes dead, then prints the sentence like a breath on glass. If you want choice, come define it. Okay, I say, because sometimes you have to answer the room. We go in. Aizawa rubs his eyes. You're not doing it alone. Wouldn't dream of it. Uraraka's already tying her hair, blink meter clipped to her collar. Bring the beat. Kaza lifts the halo pack like a violin case. Knife only. If it tries to make me bigger than that, punch me in the throat. Bakugo cracks his wrists. Gladly. Todoroki checks his pocket mirrors and the lit. La amber vial he uses when ice wants to be dramatic. We'll need dull surfaces in there. Or none. We set it up in the boring room on purpose, the negative observation chamber. No cameras, no glass, just mat and rails and the coffin holding the small, ugly idea that keeps trying to be a god when given an audience. I lay my palm on the coffin. No magic, no speech, just this. We're setting terms. Aizawa threads his scarf through floor rings and knots until the knots look like decisions. Keep your sentences short. That's a rule and a blessing. Kaza spreads 4 black hoops on the ground, 2 overlapping, 2 offset. This is a frame. We step in on count. The halo will thin the rule, not lobotomize it. We create a room inside the room. Uraraka slides her fingers into mine like taking a lane. On you. I raise 2 fingers and the haptic taps match. 1, 2, 3, blink. We step. The chamber doesn't vanish. It hushes. Not a sound thing. A decision. The coffin stays where it was. But the air stops pretending it's air and admits its attention arranged over space. Angles flatten. Distance becomes whether or not you're willing to look at a place. If you don't, it's not there. If you do, it's closer than your hand. Stillness. Kaza says quietly, all less. Perceptual domain. It's been waiting for us to stand somewhere it can control. Then don't give it the room, I say. We walk by not walking. Counting the beat into the floor with our eyes. Tap tap. Tap tap tap. The halo hums at a level that isn't sound. My teeth recognize it anyway. He's cutting edges, not centers, keeping the outline of the rule but denying it the right to improvise. The architect arrives like a spiral of glance lines, not a voice and not a person. Where the lines meet, a shape suggests itself. Not 173, not us, the between. It moves when no one watches and freezes when anyone does, but it's the size of the room and the room is as big as belief. Skip the sermon, Bakugo mutters, quiet as prayer. It doesn't sermonize, it tests. At the edge of our shared count, a scene tilts into focus, a kitchen, half lit, a parent counting alone because no one made it home in time. An instance steps into the frame where a smart speaker blinks wrong. The test isn't the statue. It's the urge to outsource the count. Pairs only, Uraraka says. Our haptics tap. The scene stays a scene. Painful, ordinary, solvable. Another test. A press room. A podium. A smiling promise. A live tally climbing. The thing becomes infinite in coverage. The urge to reassure by showing the hold swells like a drumline. I reach and pull the mic cord in the test and the drumline falls apart because it doesn't have a job without audience. The room clicks like we passed a level. The spiral rearranges. The line S now draw shapes that look like forms. Check boxes, 2-factor prompts, helpful pop-ups. The offer glides across them in tone of voice. We can choose for you. Rest. We can set the rule for all eyes, then nothing will break rank. Kaza exhales like he's walking past a bakery hungry. No. The lines bristle. No answers back in his exact voice from somewhere behind our heads. We don't turn. That's a trick. We keep the beat. Tap tap. Tap tap tap. Knife, Kaza, I say, steady. Don't cut Will. Cut roots. He nods once and trims the place where the offer tried to stitch into his halo. The hum steadies. He doesn't look proud. He looks relieved. The room decides to fight fair and unfair at once. Statues bloom at the edge of gaze like dandelions in time lapse. Each time we blink in sync, they freeze. Each time our rhythm wavers. One leans in the way hands lean toward necks. Todoroki paints a strip of frost where sight threatens to slide, but the frost doesn't look like ice, it looks like a promise that this angle is taken care of. Uraraka floats a panel into, not a mirror, a mat, a place for our eyes to rest without adding beams. Bakugo throws a flash nod at, but between, scrubbing. A phantom glare that would have split our beat. Aizawa doesn't erase anything. He does what he always does, commit. He holds a look so hard the room's cheap tricks give up trying him. The architect gets subtler. It arranges beats almost like ours, then shifts them a hair, a con. Uraraka smacks the haptic meter with her thumb until it taps true again and grins at me, because little fixes are how you survive gods. We reach the center of the stillness where the idea of 173 lives before it gets a body. The shape is wrong in every right way. Compact, patient, ready to be as many as we let it. It waits to see what we'll define. Listen, I say into the room, not with my chest, with my shoulders, with the way I set my feet like I'm about to show someone how to do a lift safely. You don't decide who we are. The spiral leans, not offended, curious. The lines skim our faces, counting us, measuring for a suit it hopes we'll wear. Offer, it says without sound. The word arrives like a tooltip. I give you one tempo for all. Perfect sync. No fear. No split-second necks. No mistakes. Uraraka squeezes my hand once. Kaza doesn't speak. Bakugo's jaw says he will explode if this thing keeps selling him safety like a scented candle. Todoroki watches for where the sold safety would go when it fails. Perfect sync kills surprise, I say. Surprise is where choice breathes. The spiral widens, a shrug. Surprise kills bodies. Sometimes, I say, we count anyway. It shifts approach. The room around us becomes nice. Not perfect, nice. No statues. No alarms. Meals that arrive warm. Phones that never buzz wrong. Policies that flow. It's a snow globe of decency with the edges filed smooth. Uraraka laughs once, not mean. You forgot that I like dragging couches upstairs for people and cussing when my elbow hits a corner. She points at a staircase that the nice world smoothed into a ramp with tasteful lighting. That's not a world, it's a brochure. The brochure world blinks at her, then at me. Define choice. Kaza glances my way like he expects me to give a speech. I shake my head. No speeches. We do the thing. Pairs, I say. On beat. We watch together. We move together. No one can move while no one is watched. That's our flip. The spiral makes a tiny punctuation mark of skepticism. Try it, I say. I nod to Uraraka. She nods to me. We take the beat into something physical. I keep my eyes on the idea of the statue and she moves 3 paces. When my meter taps, she watches and I move 3. No camera in the world can use that to breed 1,000. It's a duet, not a broadcast. The rule has to agree because 2 contradictory things force it to decide which it respects. Many eyes that don't know each other are 2 that do. The statue doesn't move. It can't. There is always one partner watching. A dozen more pairs step into the room on radios and haptics we can't see but can feel. Firefighters in a stairwell, bus drivers in doorways, nurses between beds, fishermen with sleeves rolled. The vigil we built by being annoying is suddenly the language of the place that thought it owned language. Starlight, Bakugo says under his breath like he's tasting the name and finding it less cheesy when you're using it as a lever. The spiral tries to multiply around the duet. Each time it gets to 2 it hits the watch and trips. It roots sideways into the halo. Kaza trims it. It reaches for a mirror that isn't there because Todoroki already fogged the thought. It reaches down for a glare and Bakugo scrubs it. It tries to turn our beat into a stage and Uraraka keeps it a habit by asking me, Softly, on 3, on 3, she moves. I watch, I move, she watches. The small idea at the center falters like a machine fed honest food. The spiral drops. Politeness and shows teeth I knew it had. If you move together, I cannot take the cost of decision from you. You will have to hurt and be uncertain. You will lose sometimes. That's the point, I say. You don't get to take that from us. We're not dolls for your table. It tries a last trick. It offers to put the beat inside us. No meters, no partners, just the feeling, made perfect, delivered once, forever. No counting, no arguing over tempo. A lonely, flawless law. Kaz's hand slams into mine like a relay baton. Don't let it live in me, he says without a waver. Won't, I say, stay with us. He closes his eyes, opens them, and stops being the guy with the biggest button and becomes the guy you want next to you when the button would be easier. He turns Halo from knife to buffer, not erasing the rule. Just holding the seams while we stitch our count wider. Bring them in, I say on open radio. Pairs only. If you're listening and you've got a partner, take one step on 3, then trade. 1, 2, 3. The city answers without glamour. A ramen cook and a customer lean, trade places behind a counter, laugh in the way you do when something simple works. 2 janitors in a mall swap ends of a mop. A busker nods to a cop and they trade sidewalk squares like they practiced it. A dad and a tired teen at a sink take turns rinsing plates, blink on 3, move on 3, grin because the room felt it. The stillness can't multiply that. It can't own it. It can try to sit on it. It fails. Our movement is pinned by us. Our watching is generous and specific. The statue at the center tries to step. Every time, one of us is watching and the other is moving and the loop has no slack for a god to steal. The lines around us shiver. The spiral tightens. It wants to retreat into the places it lived, feeds, prompts. Banners, polite modes. Kaza drops a few thin, last cuts and the exits it prefers close without slamming. We're not killing it. We're depriving it of the stage it insisted on. It goes smaller. That's the real test. Big enemies are easy to spot. Small enemies are where your habits either save you or sell you. The spiral condenses to a bead of a range no wider than a thumbnail. I hold my breath, because that's what I do when a bead of anything wants to be swallowed by a city. Don't eat it, Bakugo says, deadpan. I almost laugh. Todoroki cups the bead in a fog that isn't weather, it's social. Wait your turn. It works on toddlers and gods badly pretending to be helpful. The bead flickers. Uraraka puts 2 fingers over Todoroki's, not touching the bead, just present. We're not cruel, she says to it. We're just busy. It tries to flit to the coffin. Aizawa is there. He doesn't erase it. He regards it like a teacher regards a habit that needs breaking. That attention is unfair to avoid. The bead slows again. Let it go small, I say. No victory scream. No headlines. Just no room to be big. Kaza nods. Not at me, at the idea. He adjusts Hal. To lay a thin cushion around the bead. Buffer, not blade. So if it jumps into boring. Somewhere outside the room, in the city we return to chores, 100 small good choices make that cushion real. The bead softens. It splits. Not into clones. Into shards. Little nothings that will try to live in habits we should keep anyway. Reminders, schedules, feed orders. They're not gone. They're tolerable. Like dust you wipe because you noticed, not because someone put a statue in your hall. The center, the idea of 173 without the crowd, stays put. It's just a statue again. Ugly, patient, hourless while any partner watches someone move. Say it, the room prompts, needy, last chance. Say the law so I can obey neatly. Uraraka beats me to it. No law, she says. Just people. Kaza smiles. Small, private, earned. And my job becomes what it always should have been. Keep rooms from lying about what they are. Bakugo pops his neck. Cool, we done. Because I'm starving. Almost, I say. I look at the statue. I don't give it a speech. I give it a schedule. You exist where we choose to count. You freeze when we choose to watch. You don't get to pick the stage. The stillness doesn't applaud. It doesn't curse. It just surrenders the room because we're not playing its game anymore. We're playing ours, and ours fits in kitchens and buses and stairwells better. We step back on beat, through Kaza's frame. Through Aizawa's knots, into air that remembers how to carry noise. The chamber returns. Mat walls, rails, coffin shut. The blink meters on our collars tap the way we told them to. The radio hums with the relief channel. Corner store pair good, harbor okay, bus depot finished, ICU singing off. We stand quietly. No heroic pose. No list of lessons. Just 4 seconds of breath we earned. The door opens. The PCB suit is there with a face like someone who thought the fire alarm was a drill until she smelled smoke. She looks at us. She looks at the coffin. She looks at the dead billboard text already forgotten by everyone that matters. Report, she says, brittle. Aizawa folds his arms. Contained. Public cooperation ongoing. No broadcast required. Kaza steps past her like he works here now. Adept Null will publish narrow field guidelines. We will not centralize cadence. We will not sell pins. She tries to say budget. He doesn't let her. No. He walks to the hallway and is greeted by a janitor tapping on a bucket in threes. He taps back, and that's more authority than a podium. Outside, Musutafu looks like a city that refused to let a camera tell it who it is. Doorway arrows chalk fade. People carry dinner. A kid tosses a basketball that hits the rim on 3 because that's what happens when your day taught you a rhythm. All Might leans on a bench like an old tree and waves me over. Good work, he says, as if we adjusted a sign, not a metaphysics. Yours too, I say. Nice doorstop. He laughs, the big kind, and then the quiet kind. Always. Uraraka tugs my sleeve. Food. Yes, I say, because I feel my body again and it is a hungry instrument. Noodles. We end up back at the civic center where someone already set out paper bowls and a stack of blink meters to charge next to them. People rotate into eat and out to count like it's the most normal thing. Bakugo bullies a pot into boiling faster by staring at it. It works, obviously. Todoroki fogs the windows because a family inside is practicing and doesn't need onlookers. Kaza sits on a curb with a granola bar and a form he's filling out that I suspect is his resignation letter and his new job description stapled together. He doesn't show it to me. He doesn't need to. Null Halo, he says, is now a buffer by default. Good, I say. We'll yell if you try to swing it like a hammer. I expect you to, he says, no sting. The moderator from the Crown Knight walks up with a box of painter's tape and a smile that belongs to someone who found a better hobby. We're marking permanent pairs, spots at clinic doors, she says. No fuss. Just arrows. Thank you, Uraraka says. Want a noodle? Yes, the moderator says, with the honesty of a purr. Son who counted for 3 hours and deserves carbs. We eat. We don't plan the future like a heist. We plan it like a grocery list. More clips. More recipe cards. Small training at schools, not assemblies. Reminders without push notifications. A quiet rota so night shifts don't carry the world alone. Someone asks me for a statement. I write 3 lines on a card and hand it to them. They take AP, photo and post it because you cannot stop posts. You can feed them better calories. Pairs only. Announce blinks if you must. Feel them if you can. If you're not on a team, don't film. Help. Hours later, after the noodles and the sweeping and the last laugh that wasn't for a camera, we walk home under streetlights that look a little like metronomes if you're tired and sentimental. I am both. Uraraka threads her hand into mine again. No show. No complicated music. We walk in sync without thinking about it and stop for a crossing on 3 because we've trained our feet to care. At a corner, a flicker catches my eye. A billboard trying to be clever. Pixels shiver, suggest a spiral, then settle on a grocery ad with a smiling onion. A kid next to us sees the flicker, too. He looks down at his friend's hand, takes it, and says, 1, 2, 3, blink. They cross. Choice holds. Causes text pings. Telemetry shows shards looking for boring jobs. We'll keep them boring. I reply. We'll keep counting. No emoji. He wouldn't use one. Uraraka would tease me if I tried. Back at UA, Aizawa tapes one of Ida's recipe cards to the staff fridge with a strip of nothing tape anyone would notice. Bakugo signs the corner like a vandal. Todoroki corrects the tilt by a millimeter because of course he does. We say good night like people who expect tomorrow to ask for the same work and know we'll give it. Before I crash, I write one more card for myself and stick it on my wall where it'll be the first thing I see when I wake up. We watch together. We move together. No gods invited. I flick the light off on 3 because habits become culture that way. Sleep arrives like a room we arranged on purpose. Chapter 7 End.